Don't take no for an answer. There's no telling where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Tuesday night, and we are here for another episode of the Barroom Podcast. We have kicked off all the women on the show. There'll be no ladies here tonight. It is men's night. It's boys' night here on the Barroom, and here with our lovely guest, a lovely guest of regulars, I should say. Here we have Mr. Orange Hat Reviews, who's clearly more interested in what's on his phone right now than what's on the show. How you doing today, Orange?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just checking stats on my channel. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Also joining us tonight for the first time ever on the Barroom Podcast is East Coast Rob Motto. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing good. Just settling in, looking for jobs, and just glad to be over here and not in Washington.
Yeah, right.
How's the time difference been treating you?
It's a work in progress. It'll get there, but still just kind of still working through it.
And then the South Main gangster himself, Cider. How you doing today, Cider?
I'm okay. Keeping it real here as the blackest man in Maine, so.
Yes. I actually like that. We're going to start calling you that.
Sure. It was given to me by a Hispanic, so.
Yep, there you go, man. Yeah, so we got a lot of things to do tonight. Obviously, we're gonna have some guests trickle in later tonight. Rick will be here later tonight. C.S. Johnson will be here later tonight. I think Mark for the Sea is also gonna be joining us here tonight too. So we got some guests lined up for a pretty packed show. We're gonna be tackling some big current events and some really heavy topics. So we're gonna go through the whole Rolodex of topics here tonight. But go ahead and give an introduction to our guys in the chat right now. Alex versus Evil, the first one in here. How you doing today, Alex? Neozoic has another monologue for me, so I'll go ahead and do this. Neozoic Journal, June 27th, 2023. The Barroom Podcast is streaming tonight. I and others will listen to Society and his colleagues to discuss the madness and insanity of Hollywood and other industries. I will say hello to the Barroom crew and the good folks in the chat. Now I'll go back to my regular self before I sound like a Rorschach wannabe. Sincerely, a Neozoic, not so Rorschach. That's a Watchmen.
Gotta do it in his voice, man.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Rorschach or Neozoic Journal.
If I try to do it, it sounds too much like Christian Bale Batman. I'm just not going to do it.
June 27th.
Duke Nukem is here. Says, who's the lady? I'm assuming you mean the lady in the picture for our thumbnail this week. That is Margot Robbie, and we'll be talking about her in just a couple of moments here. Tilly's here. You see, everyone seems to be here. Doba Fett, I see him in the chat right now. And then, yeah, like I said, this theme song has gotten stuck in everyone's head. So you're welcome, by the way. We have Vanya, who's joining us here, saying, hey, yo. Spencer saying he would marry Margot Robbie. I mean, it's a step up from Florence Pugh. So, I mean, there's that. Who else do we got?
Maybe Spence might be able to knock some sanity back into her. I mean, she used to be sane.
Like, which one? Margot or... Because
Margot
kind of gone off the deep end.
I mean, Margot actually was against identity politics at one point.
Well, I mean, as you said, when you get in Hollywood, you gotta play the game. But no, those stories are gonna come a little bit later on. So just hold on to that topic now. Tactics Jones joining us here in the chat. Rob will be with you guys in the chat tonight as well. So let's go ahead and get started here. Now, this is a story that I guess kind of shocked people, even though I don't understand how it possibly shocked people, because it's about the upcoming film Barbie. And I'm thinking to myself, people are apparently very, very hyped for this movie. I mean, it's tracking somewhat decently. It's tracking better than Oppenheimer right now as far as head-to-head goes. But people were in this guise that this is going to be a really good movie. And I'm kind of like, I think me and Rob like the only two. Like, did you guys not know who's like writing and directing this film? Because maybe you guys want to like tone down your expectation here just a bit. But now all of a sudden, I think the fear of this week has settled in that maybe Barbie might be just a little bit more progressive than people were leaning to believe here. So here's a couple stories here from Bounding. I'll start off with this one. This is the one that really kicked it off. And was actually, this is the second story. Let me go ahead and pull up the right one here.
Left one.
Yeah, left Twix. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Kate McKinnon, who's the star of this film, says that Barbie is a movie about how gender roles deny people half of their humanity. So, or deny people half their humanity. What I said here. So this is kind of the warning shot here of everybody thinking, oh God, this is going to be a feminist Barbie movie, isn't it? Well, maybe you guys should have did a little bit of research before getting so excited about this movie. Actress Kate McKinnon, which for the record, I can just say this right now. When my first exposure to Kate McKinnon was in the 2016 Ghostbuster film. Like, I don't watch like Saturday Night Live, so I had no exposure to her on that show whatsoever. When I saw her in that movie, even though the movie is trash, I thought she was generally the best part about that film. So I was like, well, first seeing her for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, she's not that bad. And then when I saw her in like another movie shortly afterwards, I think it was like a Mastermind or something like that. It was when I realized, oh, she does this in like every single movie. So this is just her now. So it's like I gave her one shot, and then I was like, oh, okay, this is the gimmick. So never mind. Not a great sign if she's in your movie. But she is starring in the upcoming Barbie film, which recently had a new trailer drop not too long ago, and it's about how gender roles deny have people half of their humanity. So she went and made the comments in her interview alongside Margot Robbie. Was it America Ferrera and Issa Rae? And those are some other names that I would scratch my head about. But she gave the interview. She was talking about asking Robbie to provide some details about her comics at the BAFTA Awards, when she revealed her first reaction to the Barbie script was, the first time I read the Barbie script, my reaction is, oh, this is so good. What a shame that this will never see the light of day, because they're never going to let us make this movie. So that was kind of the jump off point of the promotion of this movie. Robbie said that, I thought exactly like, this is genius. They're never going to let us make it. What a shame. This is all going to go to waste, because I think it's a little more unexpected. It's just not the movie that is unexpected. I think that Greta, who's the writer and director of this movie, I think she may be the producer too, kind of pushes it in directions that I didn't think that they were going to let us go. I think that was a big part of acknowledging the things that people found problematic about Barbie, as well as the things that people love about Barbies. Because, of course, when you have a property, you have to criticize the things that are problematic about, a property or a franchise. You can't just go all in on whatever, like the fantasy of whatever the franchise presents. You also got to be like, well, this doesn't match up with current belief held here. So, and she goes on to say that I think that to be able to do both while also having a relevant conversation about where the world is today, and then acknowledging like this long 60-year history, she continued, it's a lot of things to do at once, and she does it definitely, and ultimately the whole experience is still fun. It's so fun and weirdly emotional. Now you got to keep in mind here that when these people are talking, it's fun for them, but fun for them in the bubble of Hollywood doesn't translate to fun for the viewers watching at home. So that's another thing you have to keep an eye on. At the end of it all, you're not even really thinking about a doll. You're thinking about what it means to be alive in the world, and it gets unexpectedly deep. So that's what Robbie says about the film. The last one here is like, the reason I didn't think they let us make it, honestly, is because Mattel's CEO is like the main character. Mattel itself is a character. I just thought they're never going to agree to this. So there must be some kind of portrayal of Mattel that they were afraid that they probably wouldn't be too happy with. We'll get to that here in a second. But I want to jump down here to what what's her name? McKinnon said. See if I can find him. Yeah, so McKinnon didn't reveal the script. Is how we laugh about how like gender roles deny people half their humanity, and how we need to just how we just have to like be ourselves. And it's a very powerful. Okay, I'm just gonna stop right here.
You might as well.
I'm trying to read this as she's saying it, so I'm not the one having a stroke here. This is literally reading it line from line. So I'm gonna go back and do this again. About like gender roles deny people half their humanity, and how like we just need to be like ourselves, and that is like a very
I see what you're saying. Jesus Christ, dude!
Yeah,
How many likes
exactly,
can you
right?
put in
It's
one
like-
fucking sentence?
I told you
I
to
was like-
stop while you were ahead, man. Jeez.
Damn.
Somebody get me a baseball bat.
So this ain't me. I'm literally reading it line
And
for
so,
line.
like,
Yeah.
I spot a Ken. Everyone's themselves, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Eh.
Oh my god. You talk about just smashing yourself in the face with a baseball bat. Attempting to
But it's
explain how she identifies as Ken. As a kid, she says, oh god damn it. It sounds like I spot Ken and everyone's themselves, you know? Like, no, because I don't understand a word of that babble that she just said there. That was terrible.
That
But,
wasn't meant to be understood by human ears.
Apparently, right? It's like one of those like languages that demons speak or something like that. But
Mhm.
the story here continues because obviously when these interviews came out, people thought, oh my god, they made a feminist Barbie movie. We all knew that it was going to go this way, but the Mattel executives was adamant that, hey, look, this is not a feminist Barbie movie, because they know that there is some buzz to this movie right now. But if people catch on to what this movie's all about, then all of a sudden people are going to jump ship and, I don't know, maybe go watch a possible better movie or whatnot. But Mattel's executive is trying to encourage people, or at least try to comfort people, that this is not a feminist movie. Please don't run away. We need your money. But Times Ella Document, known for getting called out on her extreme political views by actor Dean Cain, recently reported numerous actors and actresses informed to her that this is indeed a feminist Barbie movie. So internally, the story within this circle is that they do believe that this is a feminist Barbie movie, but because executive producer Robbie Brenner informed her that this is not a feminist film, Barbie's comments were a striking contrast to my interpretation of the movie and conversations with many of the actors who use that term unprompted to describe the script. So people are essentially saying behind the scenes, no, this is totally a feminist Barbie movie, which explains why there's so many of the actors behind the scenes that are very, very excited about it, why they didn't think that this movie will see the light of day to begin with. So they're trying to calm down kind of the, oh god, here we go again type feeling with this whole film. Robbie said that, we're in on a joke. This isn't a Barbie puff piece. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of, let's just say, takedown of the Barbie character, which may be a little bit of like gut shot for some of the people here who are fans of the Barbie franchise.
Absolutely. Big, huge fan of Barbie. Just can't get enough of that. She's blonde, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the blonde one. Yeah, that's the one. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, Rob, we're probably gonna have to see this movie somewhere in the near future. So I'll start with you. What do you think about, I guess, the actors snitching on themselves about the true agenda of this movie, possibly?
Okay, so here's the yeah.
Is that intentional?
Yeah, here's the problem with these comments is that like Barbie is feminist. It's just it's second wave feminist. I don't know where we are. If this is third wave, fourth wave, whatever.
We're on fourth, but this movie's third.
Here's the thing. Old school feminism really was about choice, was about saying to women, hey, the world's changing. You might have to work for a living, but you have choices, you have, options, and that's kind of what Barbie's about. It's about being a woman. It's about being feminine. It's about wearing the pretty dress and the skirt and the, Malibu Barbie and driving down, it's a fantasy, and they're like that inherently is what people like about Barbie. They want a mindless, silly fantasy that hopefully they can, forget about their problems for 2 hours. That at the very best is what this Barbie movie could be. Now, after reading these interviews and some of the reviews, it sounds like they want to do a sort of modern feminist takedown of, hey, how stupid and mindless is Barbie? You know what I mean? She's only dealing with one half of the gender roles that's available to her. So let's explore that. I personally think it's a giant mistake. I think that you have some talented people behind the camera who put this together. Greta Gerwig, even if I haven't liked the movie she's made, I know that as an actress, she's talented. Noah Baumbach has made good movies, who's a producer on this, who helped her write the script. I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, even though both of these people have done work in the last, 5 or so years that I have not liked very much. So, whether it's Marriage Story or Little Women, Lady Bird, etc. But again, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. It's competing with Oppenheimer, so naturally I want to take a shit on it a little bit, just because I'm looking forward to a Christopher Nolan movie in IMAX, and I tend to have that sort of that I take that critical lens of this is better than that. But I'm gonna see Barbie opening weekend, if only to take a shit on Greta Gerwig as a director, because this will be her third time out, and I've really been unimpressed with the returns. So I think this is a mistake because there's a lot of excitement, especially on social media, about the release of this movie. It's sort of, I talked about this last night, what James Gray did and Brad Pitt did with Ad Astra back in 2019. They sort of torpedoed the movie and said it was about toxic masculinity. So watch this movie be a silly, funny, whatever movie that doesn't deal with modern feminism at all. And it's just Kate McKinnon trying to, basically get some attention for herself. So look, I think this is a lot of smoke, a lot of noise, but it's not good. It's either the movie is either terrible and they're trying to sort of hide this fact, or it's just a silly kind of fantasy that they are weirdly, injecting politics into these interviews.
Yeah, Cider, I know you're a big Barbie fan, so this is crushing your soul right now. But
Massive.
What do you think of, I guess, Margot Robbie's comments about the film kind of being subversive, and then Kate McKinnon's just English speaking skills aren't very good as well? You can take either one of those if you want to go.
Both. So the situation, though, the origins of Barbie, believe it or not, did not start with G.I. Joe. The owners of Mattel had a daughter and noticed that she was not playing with the baby doll. She was not pretending to be a mother. She instead was dressing up her paper dolls and trying to emulate what her mother was doing at the office that she had seen. And so Barbie was born as just a woman. That's it. She didn't have a job. She didn't have Ken. She didn't have like a Malibu beach house. She was just a very well-dressed lady that little girls could say, I would like to look like this when I get older. And I will imbue my idea of the world upon it while I am a child. And that's what they did with Barbie. And it went very, very well because, what do you know, little girls happen to like, pretending to be adults. They happen to like the G.I. Joe experience, That was kind of like one of those like after effects that happened, that they overlapped with each other so much. But that's really what happened with Barbie, is that it initially just started out with meeting the need of one child, by the way, of having a doll that they could imbue their idea of adulthood upon. Now we've evolved it into adult children trying to find a coming of age story in a completely worthless corporate product. I mean, I was excited about this when it first came out because it's like, finally, a Barbie takedown movie. They're actually going to go in there and they're going to go in and they're going to be like, screw you and your stupid plastic cars. I'm going to ride the subway, and just completely lambaste Barbie getting into the real world. I thought it was going to be hilarious when she goes back. She's like, I just want to be in my Malibu beach house with my plastic cars and my boyfriend without a dick.
Yeah.
And that whole thing,
pushed in
right?
front of a subway and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Seeing crazy shit, like a dog pooping on a homeless man's face, and Barbie being like, I want to go back to where everything's plastic and fantastic. I thought that's what it was going to be. And now I find out, oh no, it's Kamala Harris's story, but in Technicolor.
Yeah. Yay. Hey, maybe this it would be funny if they put like Barbie in like one of those Juneteenth shootings that happened that we saw on Twitter over the last weekend. Just throw her in the middle of that. Be like, no, I definitely want to go back to the fantasy because reality sucks.
Just a naked fat guy with a rainbow thong drives by on a unicycle, and she looks at Ken and says, "We got to go back."
Yeah, right.
We got to go back. That's what I thought it was going to be, but.
Orange Hat, what is your thoughts on this whole thing? Yeah, exactly.
Well, Kate McKinnon was the one that was saying something about denying half their gender or whatever.
Humanity.
Or humanity. Does that mean that gender's binary? I thought it wasn't, according to these Hollywood freaks. But
That is fifth wave feminism. Is when
Yeah.
men turn back into women because they.
And not that
realize
I'm trying to read
don't know.
logic into this, but it's like there's male and female gender roles. There isn't
Yeah.
like they them gender roles. To be
Never heard
fair,
of a
you know,
they,
I'm
them.
just trying to use
Oh, yeah.
this twisted logic here.
And
But-
I can totally see a scenario where the critics slam this movie because it's not inclusive enough. Because what about the they them people?
Oh, chances
It's
are they're gonna do that. But
Mhm.
also, Margot Robbie and all I'm saying, all this progressive and this feminist, and then Mattel being like, "Shut the fuck up!" It's like, what
like-
don't you want them to say? I mean, that's kind of misogynist if you're not letting women speak. But also, aside from that, Margot Robbie, believe it or not, actually used to be against identity politics. I mean, go to the Wonder Woman thing in BVS, the special features. She actually says that identity politics narratives are the worst mistake you can make if you are doing a movie with that or with female roles and whatnot. It's just a story and it's just a person, and trying to assign genders to it is the worst mistake you can make, is essentially what she said. But as for this, or Kate McKinnon's way of speaking, it almost sounds like it's SJW cursive writing, or it's almost like SJW cursive. I mean, nowadays, nobody knows what the fuck cursive is except for us. I mean, we grew up with it. But to me, that it's like, you're saying like almost every other fucking word. Woman, I need to smack you so that the needle goes back on track. I mean, for crying out loud.
You remember SpongeBob, right? With the rock bottom? He's like,
Yeah.
I don't understand your accent.
Exactly.
I was gonna go the other way. I was thinking about the movie Invasion USA we watched, where the dude like shoved the coke needle up her nose and like threw out the window. It's like, yeah, that's what I think when I hear her talk.
I mean, why is it that people freaking? I mean, if you're from California, because I do have some friends from California that do say like a lot in their sentences, or all other words that they tend to get repetitive with.
Mm-hmm.
But that's on a whole nother level what she did. And I'm thinking to myself, look, I say like maybe a couple other times and whatnot, but not that amount. And that
like
it's just
reading
bad.
it, I was like thinking in my head, like, am I retarded? Can I not read?
I thought you were gonna have. I honestly thought you were gonna have a seizure.
Yeah, it's like, are you having a stroke right now? It's like, oh god, I need
Like,
to call
dude,
911.
your
It's
face
like,
is
no.
drooping.
Yeah, it's like, no, I'm literally just reading this woman's line of word for word.
I mean, listening to that woman talk would basically give me an eye twitch.
Well, let me ask Johnson here. Do you have like any like thoughts or like expectations of this Barbie movie that's coming out here?
I expect that I will not go see it. So.
And I mean, I said this on
personal feeling.
I said this on Twitter. I think Jacob saw it, you know, but basically Barbie as a product celebrates traditional feminine gender roles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what this movie's supposed to say. Otherwise, that's what it is to be. It's celebrating femininity. It's celebrating what it is, you know, in terms of, hey, this is what it is to be a woman of, you know, and to have fun with it, not to treat it too seriously. And by the way, I always thought He-Man was the Mattel, you know, offshoot, not G.I. Joe, for boys. I guess G.I. Joe's been around longer than He-Man, so yeah.
Definitely.
Hey, there was somebody who said that's an idea I'm going to make a girl out of. You know, that was, you know, that was all it was. But originally it was just to meet their daughter's needs. Really, that's the funniest thing, is that it started so humbly, like everything else. It gets twisted into the nuclear bomb that destroys civilization.
Yeah.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
Hey, full circle.
There you go.
Yes. Well, talking about bombs. So I don't think I was very impressed with the Greta Gerwig interpretation of Little Women either. So I don't think that.
All right, what was the third movie she did?
Lady Bird. It was a movie that came out.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, the other one, yeah, I've heard this one, the one that she just mentioned, and
yeah, the Lady Bird, Little Women, and then this movie Barbie is like the last three that she's done. So,
and she's an actress as well. What movies has she been in?
She was, yeah. What was she in?
She's older now,
Greenberg.
I think.
Yeah. This was back in like 2010, 2011, but she was in Frances Ha, Greenberg. What is it? Mark, like I'm trying to think of the horror movie that she was in that Ty West did. Like, but yeah, it's mostly indie movies that she's been in.
So I've
but
never
I
heard
like
of
her. But I've liked her, you know. But yeah, she just got a little too older and transitioned into a directing role, which again, she has not made anything that I think, hey, you should go see that. So I'm still waiting.
I
Get
really
your shit together, Gorilla.
like as a kind of like a related sort of thing is like I was talking with my kids like they go to the gym with me and they have like a kids club and stuff. The lady there says that their favorite movie to watch is Toy Story, and Toy Story 2 has like that little Barbie Ken arc and stuff in it. I think that'll be a better Barbie movie than this. So
McKinnon's not even 40 yet. Eesh.
well, I think I don't think a lot of people understand what Barbie meant to people before it became a political propaganda tool. You know,
Mhm.
I loved Barbies growing up. Frankly, I have a whole collection in my basement somewhere. And
I mean, you have just real quick. You have a generation that loved Barbie, and then you have the generation that envied Barbie because Barbie somehow made them feel bad about themselves. And now these are the people who are making this movie, which is just like,
yeah, and that's kind of it. You could make, I mean, like, look at all the successful, I mean, there's not a whole lot of successful Barbie movies, but when they first started in the animated form, there were people that genuinely liked them. And I babysat a lot of kids that liked them. So I've watched my share of those. I'd rather watch Barbie and the Magic Paintbrush over this Barbie movie.
And I said this before too. Like, there's a certain level of respect I have for Nintendo because at least they go well out of their way to protect their IPs. Like, they will literally send anthrax to your house before they ever let you screw up the Mario franchise. I just have to respect that after a while, especially after seeing how all these other companies just let Hollywood just destroy what they created. So,
well, like, I'm a writer. Did you guys know that? And if anybody got a hold of my IP and destroyed it, I would just cry, I think. But I don't.
Would you cry before or after sending a pipe bomb to their house?
A pink one.
What do you mean? I shouldn't have to do that. You guys are my friends. You guys would do it for me. Okay.
Okay.
That's how this is supposed to work.
Who says I already or who says I haven't already?
You're not really friends unless you're committing domestic terrorism for one another. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I would blow up a civilian for you. What the fuck?
That's how close we are, bro.
I know,
Why are we
right?
going to jail for you, bro? Straight to Guantanamo, bro. You can waterboard me, bro.
The FBI is just like, this is our job.
Dear federal government, I don't know these people, and
Right.
I don't agree
We're
with what you're
clearly
saying.
talking about the hit game from Rockstar Games, GTA 5 Online, a DLC in which you send pipe bombs to people. It's the DLC. Yeah,
They also have
great.
racists too.
Trying to think of what ROTC says when someone in the chat says something spicy. It's like nope, not me.
Yep.
Either that or just like John Travolta said in freaking Broken Arrow, fuck them if they can't take a joke.
Yeah, I
Well,
was
we
thinking
found
about-
out how they like jokes in Waco, now didn't we?
Yeah.
Oh.
Or Ruby Ridge.
Well, I will say, like,
that one especially.
I will say, like, Barbie to me is like I was a 90s kid, so like it's the thing is her thing was like you could be anything you want. You could be a veterinarian, you could be a doctor, you could be a gymnast, you could be a ballet person, you know, and you know, I actually so I really liked the Spice Girls when I was little, and I have Spice Girl Barbie dolls. So, you know,
I'll fucking
Spice
admit
Girls
I saw the Spice World movie.
I
like the Spice Girls, but for different reasons.
Exactly.
Okay, well, I've actually told John Sider that he should watch it with me and EFAP it with me as some kind of movie, and we would get a lot of laughs out of that, I think.
JDA?
And yeah.
Oh, him
it's on his
reacting
list
to
of-
this, but okay, yeah, all right, yeah.
No. I mean, like, it's on his list of. He's promised to do it at some point, and I promised to remember to remind him to do it at some point.
Pain.
So, pain.
Grade A.
Well, you know what though? They fit so well in with their diversity quotas these days. So, I mean, like, they've got they had the scary Spice Lady, they had the baby Spice Lady, the sporty Spice Lady, the posh Spice Lady, and then they had the redhead. So diversity.
And we got the gospel.
Yeah.
Speaking of
You know,
diversity,
Mark, I knew you were,
like I never needed love before.
you know, Mark, if I knew
Had
you were
some
coming
love.
on a little bit earlier, I would have had that. Oh, hey, Mark, intro ready for you. But,
Oh, hi, Mark.
Hello. What's up, everybody? Orange Hat, what's up, baby?
Good to see you.
All right.
So we're
I heard somebody
literally-
mention G.I. Joe. I'm here to represent
Yeah.
Joe.
Yo.
Yeah, no, Johnson was on a tangent about the Spice Girls for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
there, but
So
we
you
were
came in at the
originally
right
talking
moment.
About Barbie. So the whole thing about,
Whoa.
Barbie isn't feminist, is not feminist. The actors seem to think that it is, even though Mattel is telling you no, it's not. Please buy tickets because we can't lose money on this. So what is your thoughts on the whole Barbie?
They've been losing
situation
money
right now?
since they started doing all those like fat Barbies.
Yeah. We got all types of Barbies now. Barbies in a wheelchair, Barbies, all types
Tinkle
of stuff. It's
Barbie.
crazy. Yeah.
I don't
Everyone's just
mind the
got to
special
see
edition
themselves.
stuff, but it's like mainstream people don't want this. Just give them a generic Barbie doll to play with. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
Bella Swan thing. It's like you just need a generic woman who looks nice enough that you could pretend that you're her, and like she's, like vaguely pretty enough that you can like project your fantasies onto her and like go for it.
Yeah,
Hollywood
depressed
is so
Barbie is
afraid
not
of the
going to
male
sell.
gaze.
Mhm.
That's the problem.
Right.
Hollywood is so afraid of the male gaze, and Barbie has always kept herself attractive. You know what I mean? And that's not what they want. They want little girls to think you can be a fat ass, you can be whatever you want, and everyone's just going to accept you.
It's
Barbie
so
doesn't
hilarious to
represent
me that
Uh-huh.
Hollywood,
Fair
especially
one.
these women, always complain about the male gaze. It's like, look, if it wasn't for the male gaze, you wouldn't have a job in Hollywood. Can we stop it? Can we not sit here and pretend like that the reason why people like Margot Robbie is because of her acting chops? Like,
Right.
there was a reason her big breakout role was her being naked in Wolf of Wall Street. Like, that was what
Right.
broke her out in the first place. So,
Well, if anything, she should gain like 50 pounds then, and then see how well her acting stuff goes. Okay, so that's my challenge to you, Margot Robbie.
But I don't know why all of these middle-aged women didn't think they were going to come for what you love too. This is just more of the same. No stone will be unturned. They will ruin everything. That includes Barbie. They're going to come for Barbie too. They're going to destroy everything that Barbie stood for. Barbie was going to be a wife. The girls who played with Barbie, they play with baby dolls and stuff. They wanted to be mothers. These are things that we no longer value in this society. So they got to tear it down the same way that they would tear down He-Man or anything else. They're not into gender identity. They're not into the traditional gender identities that way. Everyone can be whatever they want to be, but you can't be a wife. You can't be a husband. You can't be a mother. You can't be a father. But you can be everything else. You can be a dog if you want to be. But for some reason, you can't identify as a husband or a wife. Go figure.
You know what's
Oh,
what's ridiculous is how often I think of the movie Step Brothers, and I know it's ridiculous to think about this, but that scene where like the dad Richard Jenkins is like, I wanted to be a T-Rex, and my dad told me to like wait, grow the fuck up, and it's like even a ridiculous scene like that was done almost 20 years ago is sort of like feeds credence into this. Hey, you could be a dog if you want to. You could bark or bark at people and they should listen to you. And it's like, I'm sorry,
Use a
man.
litter
It's
box.
gotten so crazy that I can't even look at comedy anymore and be like, and just laugh at it. I have to like somehow relate it to the present.
dude,
It's sad.
I find
Well, like,
myself
people-
a lot these days. Like every time people say, like, look, if you want to be, dress up as a goat and identify as a goat, you can do whatever you want to do. And I just look back now and I think to myself, maybe telling people they can do whatever they want to do is part of the problem. And maybe we should just start drawing lines in the sand. Like, no, you can't identify as a goat or as a baby or as all these other like nonsense that people are. You can't just do anything that you want. Maybe absolute freedom was a mistake. How about that?
I identify as a non-taxpayer. How about that? Well,
Yeah.
Everybody needs to start doing that.
That would
Yeah.
probably stop a lot of the madness. So
Yeah,
Exactly. We
But
need to remind
these things used
the
to be
people-
identified as mental illnesses back then. Back in the day, if you said that you identified as a lamppost or something, people would say, well, you probably need help. But these days it's like, You go on, you stand there straight up and down. Don't lean. You can be the best lamppost in the world. You know,
Maybe
and
we're
we're
all
just
lampposts. you know?
yes, we're just enabling this. And we're not going to be
We
better
need to bring
for
back
it.
the wacko baskets. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, we do. And they also, it's like, who are you to judge? I identify as a judge. How about that?
Well, I
Did you
think I will say, like in general, though, people you have to be so literal with people all the time that it's not really that surprising on some level.
Yeah.
Like that every Christmas, my other friend Jacob gets mad at me because I say that like the "Baby It's Cold Outside" song is fine, and it's about like they're flirting and they're playing a little game, and it's like a romance sort of game, and it's like you can't be romantic now. You just have to be. You have to get the contract signed and like 3 layers of consent. And
See, there's a line in that song, right, where she says, "Say what's in this drink," so she's kind of questioning whether or not he slipped something in the drink, whether he Bill Cosby'd her, So it's like in today's society, they zeroed in on that. Oh, he's poisoning her. This is a terrible song,
Yeah.
but she can't go home
if she
she's
started
been drinking
slurring her
alcohol.
words, if she started slurring her words and then passed out after the song, then you can say, okay, well, there's probably something sketchy going on.
Maybe
here.
it's
Yeah.
warm milk and it made her tired. Okay, I mean, this came out of the 50s.
Look, this is from the generation that used to say, "I'm sorry, fellas, I had a few sour ice cubes and lost my way last night." All right, that's what she's referring to is, I didn't drink this alcohol that's in my hand. Gee, this gin tastes awful ginny. Yeah. Did you ever wonder what it's like to live in a Tom Green movie? Now you know.
And then you got people who are singing rap lyrics talking about literally slipping shit into their drinks.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
California
And they're
pass
cool.
that law?
And that's freaking what they're celebrating now. I mean, WAP won freaking best song.
Yeah, well, I
that
mean,
was,
like
50
that. There was
Cent in
that
the
law.
club.
Yeah.
That law passed in California that said that rap lyrics can't be used against them in a court of law. That's like a
Oh
confession.
my god.
Yeah,
Oh
because
my god.
That's
No,
the
see,
industry going to jail.
this is how ignorant I've been of hip hop. Is
Oh.
like I haven't listened to it for the most part. And then I went through this weird phase a couple years ago where I listened to it for like 3 months and I was like, wait a minute. These people are literally talking about the crimes they're committing on
Yes.
what?
To a
What?
beat.
And I'm like, and I grew up with Batman, right? Where the
Mhm.
Joker talks about being the first functional homicidal artist. And I'm like, that's they've been doing this shit for 30
Yeah.
years, and it's like blowing my mind, so it's like,
Yeah, just a quick little sidebar real quick before we move on to our next topic. We talked about this a while back ago, how people like Jay-Z and Meek Mill were literally campaigning on we need to make it so that rap lyrics can't be used in the court of law because so many rappers were confessing to crimes, verifiable crimes in these rap videos and in these songs that the justice system were using it against them. Like there was one guy, I think it's called like AR Ab or something like that. He would constantly talk about being involved in like the drug trade and being involved in gangs, doing interviews talking about this. So what happened? Oh, a DA just looked at it and be like, oh yeah, this guy is actually involved in a number of our crimes. And next thing you know, he's spending 20 years in prison. I was like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't have rapped about that in your music. It's like, why is it that rappers have to talk about criminal activity in their songs? It's like no other genre of music has this problem. It's like you could be a criminal, but you don't have to sing about being a criminal.
Well,
Well,
hold
this is where
on.
the
You could be like
poisoning-
Johnny Cash and make it up and
Yeah.
get into trouble for
see,
making it up.
That's the thing. This is where the poisoning started because back in the day, in hip hop, and I used to rhyme too, coming out of New York, everybody thought they could rhyme, right? So everyone fantasized about being the biggest badass out there, right? But there was this understanding that you were just being like cinematic, like you were no different than a Goodfellas or Casino. Like it's just you were weaving these tales, right? But something terrible happened, whereas the kids got influenced and they started glorifying those lyrics. Like back then, you could do this and you get a parental advisory sticker on there. There used to be a cautionary tale involved too. Yes, I'm talking about drugs, but usually if you listen to those lyrics from back in the mid 90s, maybe, there's usually a final verse where they talk about how they got what was coming to them because they were in the drug game, Ice-T was like that. Ice Cube was like that. You know, there was always a warning to it. But you got movies like Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, and the younger generation started to really take it to heart. So the next generation of hip hoppers came off of the street. They were really doing it. They were looking to get out of the ghetto and get out of the hood and all of this stuff. And they really rapped about some of the stuff that either they saw was happening or they personally were doing. And they put themselves in a bad position because now, like you said, you incriminated yourself. You got some of the biggest dumbasses out here who would talk about that I was into counterfeiting, I was into drugs, and it doesn't take long, you know, for them to be able to put two and two together. You're on Instagram throwing up drugs and stuff, you know, cocaine, and you're easy pickings.
What they need nowadays, what they need nowadays is to send kids on field trips to prisons, give them a real frickin' taste of reality. But speaking of, but also speaking of, just 1 second, speaking of rap lyrics and stuff, folks, Dre 2001 was a confessional, by the way.
Yeah. Well, here, I played this a couple of weeks ago when Chris Gore was on. It was hilarious then. It's still hilarious now. It's astonishing how these rappers just tell on themselves. So I'll just play this real quick.
Yesterday at 3 o'clock, I shot Tony with a Glock. His body still laying there. Yeah, I did it. I don't care. Today I killed another guy. Put a bullet in his eyes. I shot the man in broad day. I still live on Broadway. I shot Michael in the back. The gun is in my Cadillac. I'm posted on the back block. I'm still selling crack rock. Today I caught another body. Had to shoot him with the Tommy. Left the man in critical. I dumped him in the river too. Yesterday at midnight, I got into a big fight. I killed Mike. I shot my gun. I'm waiting for the cops to come. I committed 2 crimes. I shot Tommy 2 times. First I let the trigger spray. Then I made my getaway. Johnny tried to act hard. I killed him in his backyard. Then I murdered Julio. Now I'm at the studio. David tried to grab his gun. I shot him twice. I had to run. My middle finger to the cops. I'm still posted on the block. Mikey tried to set it off. I grabbed my gun. I let it off. I shot him because I needed it. Laughed about it, then tweeted it. Vinny owed me mad cash. I had to let the Gap blast his body in my Pontiac, the crib where you can find me at.
So yeah,
Wow.
It do be like that.
They should have ended it with the cops kicking down the damn door.
Yeah, no, that came later. That was part 2.
All right, I'll say this. I love Long Beach Griffey videos, and he does like fake rap sometimes. And like, he's got some where like the school shooter comes to the studio. I think is the first one I watched with that. And it's, I don't know if it's a parody on those or not, but I like parody. So
let's hope.
Yes.
So yeah, look, Barbie, tinker your expectations because you may be into some hardcore subversion. I don't know. Go watch the movie about the bomb that blows up and scares people leaving the theater. Just go watch that movie instead, and you'll be fine. Oh yeah, hey Rick, I forgot this knowledge that you were even here. So
I was gonna say hi and tell you we've come a long way. We've come a long distance from Singing in the Rain. So.
Yep. Well, you know, Barbie's going to be a cute, adorable film that little girls will flock to. So they'll learn all about they'll learn all about the patriarchy and I don't know what else.
I don't know. Every time I hear about like male like Barbie fans, I just think to myself.
Bunch of slack-jawed faggots around here.
So yeah. Well, moving on, we're gonna go ahead and talk about Taylor Sheridan, my favorite screenwriter in Hollywood right now. Hollywood would be so better off if people actually wrote like him. He's been working on the show Yellowstone, which has been the number one show on television for the last few years now. But apparently they're having a little tiff with him and Kevin Costner. Costner's going through like a divorce and a whole bunch of other stuff behind the scenes right now, which looks like he's going to end up killing the show because he may not even come back to film the rest of it. But he talked about a few days ago the possibility that with the writers being on strike that, hey, they might force him to work on a writing staff, not just let him write things himself. And he said that he would rather quit television than be forced to work with a team of goofballs known as writers in Hollywood. So this is, like I said, Taylor Sheridan has done so many great movies over the last 10 years or so. Hell or High Water, great movie. Sicario, great movie. Second Sicario film. He did was it Wind River was a really good one. Those Who Want Me Dead, I mean, it was pretty solid, even though there was a few things that annoyed me about it. But I mean, that was a pretty solid film. And then, of course, the last couple of years, he's been working on Yellowstone, which has been the #1 show on TV for a while. But he doesn't want to work with a team. He likes to work solo. And I think maybe because he's had bad experiences working with other writers. So being in a writing room where other people are kind of like taking up his shine definitely isn't a big thing in his mind. But the Yellowstone creator revealed that he might quit TV if he's forced to employ a team of writers, or so-called a writer's room, under possible terms imposed by the Writers Guild of America following the next strike. He says here that the freedom of the artist must be unfeathered, Taylor Sheridan told the Hollywood Reporter. If they tell me you're going to have to write a check for $540,000 to 4 people to sit in a room that you've never met, and that's between the studio and the guild. They said, if I had to write a check in creatively for others for a story that I've wholeheartedly built in my brain, that would probably be the end of me telling TV stories. So essentially saying that, look, if you're forcing me to have to consider other people's input on my own vision and my own ideas, then what's the point of even doing this here? Sheridan, like I said, has written and co-written every episode of Yellowstone, working in a one-room cabinet he built for himself in Wyoming. So he's written every episode of the spinoff series, 1883 and 1923 as well. The Writers Guild is pressuring Hollywood to adopt a minimal number of writers per show, effectively mandating that every TV series has a writing room, which, guys, like there's writing rooms in some of these shows where it's like, you guys, if you weren't on the team individually, you would have no merit to be in the position that you're in right now. I mean, we talked about all the time, like the Rick and Morty writers, the She-Hulk writers is a perfect example of this. It's like, yeah, if this is what they're adopting for the future, then yeah, they're absolutely screwed. And look, I don't even watch television, scripted television anymore because of stuff like this, and this is definitely not going to bring me back. Hollywood has been striking for 2 months now, bringing all entertainment to a halt for the most part. Then I think this is the last line here, saying that he was disappointed that Kevin Costner has essentially left the show, which is in its 5th season, and is going to end things. It says it truncates the closure of his character. It doesn't alternate it, but it does truncate it. So that's basically saying about the Costner thing. But look, I'm completely 100% on board with his views about having to essentially work with a group full of unqualified chucklefucks just to please the people of Hollywood right now. Rob, once again, I'll start this one off of you. What do you think of Sheridan's comments here about writing staffs and kind of like this idea that we need multiple writers instead of one guy who actually knows what he's doing?
Yeah, and this is, look, I'll just be open about this. This is a bias I have, but it goes along with movie making history, filmmaking history, with the auteur, basically the author. You have usually one person with a clear, strong vision of what they want to create, and then everyone sort of works to bring that together. Movies and storytelling, all of this is a collaborative medium. I'm not saying it's not, but the movies and the TV shows that have that incredibly strong singular vision and work to bring that to life are the best. I really like Taylor Sheridan. I think he's a great writer, director. He's done a lot of really good movies. I haven't seen much of his TV, to be completely honest, but this goes along with kind of, my own personal opinions about, why I revere Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino. There are certain voices, there are certain artists that they can elicit a brilliant, searing vision from the crew they work with. Taylor Sheridan knows what the fuck he's doing. He doesn't need Hollywood or the WGA to come in and say, hey, you have to work with a team of writers because we need diversity and inclusion or DEI. Fuck you, okay? This is somebody that gets people's asses in seats. People have been watching Yellowstone for 5 years now. I still haven't seen a single episode. My parents can't keep up with it. They you know what I mean? They can't wait for the new episodes to come out. So look, I think that when you have a talent like that, you should leave him alone. You should let him do whatever he wants until he stops making money. Okay. When he stops making money or when he fails, okay, you have some credence to be like, okay, we have the option to step in and make decisions now. But look, this is somebody who we don't have many of these people anymore, either in TV or in movies. Okay. I even think Sam Levinson is under this category. And I know that, like, you know, it's not a lot of people's cup of tea, but still, I would rather see somebody who's willing to strike out, who's willing to take chances and go there, than to you know, I don't know, this niche crap where we get She-Hulk, we get a bunch of crappy Disney Plus shows. I'm just not here for it. So I like Taylor Sheridan. I think they should leave him alone, and he has every right to walk away because he's made plenty of money being successful already.
Mark, what do you think about this thing?
I agree 100% with what he's saying. I mean, are we, you know, protecting the artist here or not? You know, you're trying to have a industry, and I think he knows, you know, probably better than anyone that what comes behind this is the check boxing. You know, you got to have a certain number of LGBTQ on your team. You know, this is what they're doing now. So, you know, before you know it, you're going to lose creative control of your own baby. As far as I can tell, he's got a hit. He gives them hits. He makes them money. Why are you fucking with him for? Like, leave him alone. You know, but that's what is going on, and I don't blame him for taking a stand. I hope he does. You know, because what we have now is just a bunch of shit that's not inspired. You know, that's the reason why it feels so soulless. Everything that we're watching, whether it's Star Wars, Star Trek, anything, because they don't know how to cultivate artists with real vision, you know, that can come up with something that no one has seen before. So, you know, I'm totally on board with what he's saying. I hope that he stands his ground. Absolutely.
And keep in mind, this is a guy who they've tried to attack Yellowstone for a while now because, one, they know it's the most popular show on television. I think last year it got like 10 million viewers. I'm not sure what the numbers are this year. I haven't looked into it yet. But they know it's popular, but they're upset because, well, it's popular for the wrong reasons, because it's not diverse enough. It's not progressive enough. It's not the stuff that we would push in Hollywood that drives audiences away. So you have a show here that doesn't do that for the most part. People are actually receptive to it, and they don't like that because it shows people that, no, this is actually what the people want, not the crap that you try to shove down their throats. And they don't want there to be competition. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Was that Orange?
I was going to say, I actually saw that he's also connected to Mayor of Kingstown. I actually took a look at that show and thought it was pretty damn good. I'm not really fully familiar with Tyler Sheridan's work, but if he's as good as everybody is saying, well, you don't change the diet of the golden goose and expect that golden goose to continue to want to be around to lay those golden eggs. Because here's the thing, if this guy is as good as everybody says, which apparently he is, don't fuck with him, because eventually he's going to say, you know what? You need me more than I need you. And here's another thing. I'll take all my shit with me, which you also need. So basically, it's going to be a short one for me here. You don't freaking piss off or an asset to the degree where they're going to walk away and they're going to tell you, good luck finding somebody just as good.
Yeah. Cider, have you ever seen any of Taylor Sheridan's work, or are you aware of any of his stuff?
Yeah. I see clips of stuff on the internet. I don't like to watch modern television, even if it's good, just because I just don't trust it. So why waste time getting involved?
Amen.
But I see clips of it and stuff. So the situation is that, like, look, James Gunn soloed the MCU according to him. First 10 years, according to him, he soloed it, right? We at least see the evidence of him being left to his own devices with Guardians 1, 2, and 3. According to him,
the first one was co-written, but still.
According to him, he smokes a bunch of weed, listens to 70s stoner music, and comes up with all this crazy stuff, all right? I don't know if that's the truth or not, but we've seen the evidence of that being amazingly successful in Hollywood. Now, to turn around and say, buddy, you're getting all these views, you're getting these awards, you're getting noticed, fantastic, other people want to come on board and be part of this. We need to ruin that because we see evidence of it working other places. So we're going to ruin that. Again, I am fully convinced that anything Americana must be obliterated. If it isn't globo homo, if it is pro globo homo, there is no It's not going to fly. You can't have anything that glorifies what it is to be an American because that's dangerous.
Yeah, I always go back to what was the movie Hot Fuzz, where essentially the concept is that he's working now as a cop for this force, but he's so good he's making everybody else look bad. So it's like we have to kill him or else we're not going to survive.
Why am I being fired? Because you've embarrassed us all.
Yeah, exactly.
I did a review on that with my friend Mara. It was great.
That was a really
it's still
good
a great
film.
movie.
That is a really good film.
Very timely these days. Very timely.
Oh yeah.
Well, I don't know if it was in the article, but what exactly is the number of writers that now they're going to demand that every show have?
I don't know. I didn't look back on the exact number, but I know they're trying to hire like a team or something. So yeah.
I don't think this is a good idea because we've had in movies. I think what was it, Transformers or The Flash, that had 5 writers, 5 credited screenwriters. That did not make either of those films good. With a television show, especially one that is like Yellowstone, that tells one long continuous story instead of imagine like some characters here, some characters there. I don't know how it works, but this is Taylor Sheridan's vision, so much so that he is able to do these prequel series and be successful. He's tying it into to his own creative mythology. With a writers group, they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to have to work under him and not be creative. They're not going to have that much input, or they're going to try to put in too much of their input and create something that he did not envision. Either way, I don't like this requirement. I bristle whenever I hear the word required. You have to have this group of writers. And what are their qualifications?
So here's something that's gonna raise the eyebrow of everyone listening to this right now. So this is from about a month ago, but this was one of the demands of the Writers Guild when the strikes happened. It's like in a lengthy document, the guild spelled out for its proposal for a TV staffing minimum, which would range from 6 to 12 writers per show based on the number of episodes. That proposal is a non-starter for studios, which have declined and made a counteroffer. So this is what the Writers Guild is projecting to the studios.
Yep.
Studios like absolutely effing not. We're not doing this. But
that is a massive number. That number for, like, imagine a series that really runs maybe 10, 12 episodes. It's going to be monstrous. It really is a case of too many cooks in the kitchen. I don't know. I mean, I guess the Writers Guild is thinking we're going to guarantee jobs for all of our members. But,
I mean, this goes to what JEC was just saying a second ago. It's like it feels like they're just basically justifying the use of AI or the incoming effective AI, because if you start making absolutely ridiculous demands that no reasonable studio is going to say yes to, then the studio is going to be like, you know what? Let's see how we run in the next few years if AI just starts writing all of our scripts. So we won't have to hire any of these writers anymore and can save millions of dollars per year on the back end. So
maybe they should get an AI to write Star Wars, because at least it might be consistent then.
No,
couldn't do any worse.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's think about some of these are limited series. If you're going to have 9 episodes and you're going to want 6 writers per for show per episode, that's too many people. That's
a little crackhead negotiation.
You know what's funny about all of this is, like, think about the most critically acclaimed, the best television shows in the last 20 or so years. The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, Mad Men, whatever. All of them have a showrunner, a singular voice the writing goes through. They might have 3 or 4 writers, but that's it. They've got 3 to 4 staff writers that write the scripts for the episodes along with the showrunner, the executive producer, the person whose vision brings that television show to life. Even crappy network TV Shonda Rhimes is a showrunner for the things that she created, with Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, whatever. But even shitty network TV like that, it's like things that have a staying power, it goes through a voice. You know what I mean? So If this is an industry-wide change, I'm sorry, but the WGA can go fuck themselves. That is a death knell for anything good coming. I'm already incredibly hard on television. I can't imagine how worse it's going to get if they implement this.
It can't hold to have so many writers, and it's a requirement that they want it to be a requirement. It's just not going to hold. And look,
then like this is what they want to do. They want to like they're trying to boost their resume essentially. So if you have like a show like let's just throw She-Hulk for instance, because we're throwing that one in there. Let's say 12 people wrote She-Hulk. They can go ahead and say it's like, oh yeah, on my resume I was a writer for She-Hulk. Like, what episode you did? 4 of 12, but it's like they're going to give the credit and they can be like, hey, I wrote this insert show here. So this is essentially what they're trying to do. They're trying to glorify their own resume and justify their own existence by saying, well, I was part of the team that wrote this, as if somehow if they didn't fire you on day one that the show wouldn't be what it was to begin with. Like it's complete BS.
Okay, I'm not supportive of someone that is hired based on their background in terms of who they are. We've seen this, and I know, Jacob, you don't like me bringing up Doctor Who, but we had a whole season of Doctor Who where the big thing was, oh, we're hiring an Indian writer, oh, we're hiring a black female writer. Those episodes were terrible, not because they were Indian or because it was a black woman who wrote it, but because they didn't really know the show, they didn't know the genre, they weren't into science fiction, they just wrote it so that they could have representation. And again, it doesn't work. I mean, if you had an Indian fan of the show, or who at least understood what the show was about, you could have a successful episode. But not just because, oh, okay, well, you're Indian, you obviously can write a story that is set during the partition. It's not going to work. And this thing, I can't imagine how you could have a successful series when you're required to have so many writers. Like, I mean, imagine.
I mean,
like,
look, we watch like we watch so many movies, and every time, like I've said this many times before, like if there's more than like 2 screenwriters for a film, your film's probably gonna suck. I mean, I'll give a pass for 2 because there are some groups out there that do work better as a team. So it's like, okay, I can give a pass if it's like a Phil Lord or somebody like that. But it's like once you get to checking your IMDb and there's like 5 writers attached to the film, there's no way that 5 writers combined made a good movie. Like there's no way.
It's too much. I think it was Transformers that had 5 writers. My gosh, that is terrible because, again, as I've said before, you want to put in writer A's idea, you want to put in writer B's idea, and you try to put in writer C's idea. And so you try to create so many that you stuff the film and it becomes unwieldy. I have a limit of 3 because Casablanca took 3 writers. Although 2 of them, they were a pair of twins. So I don't know if that counts as 1 or 2. But
it's 1.5.
1.5. But I think you still had one vision. Here with a television series, if you have so many writers all trying to put in their ideas, their dialogue, it's going to be a mess. This is not like a variety show. This is not like Saturday Night Live, where you could have a lot of writers because there are a lot of sketches and you create a lot of characters. This is like a single straightforward story in Yellowstone, and to try to force someone to have so many writers for what? Just so you can guarantee your membership a job or a member job? That's no, that I don't think that's going to work. It's going to be too bloated. And yeah, I think Rob was right. You think about Breaking Bad, you think about The Sopranos. Those were the visions of one person. Or what was it? I can't remember his name. Flynn. David Chase.
Too,
Yeah. Those are just one, and they hired. I'm assuming that they hired 1 or 2 writers, but they stayed, for longer episodes. Not like you could hire 5 writers to do episode 1. Another group of 4 writers to do episode 2. You're not going to have a cohesive whole. Even if you have a showrunner, it's just going to become too big. This is this demand, and I say this as a union member, this demand is just so over the top. They need to compromise. They cannot demand to have 6 writers minimum per show, per episode. It's such an insane idea. I'm sorry, I can't go along with it. It's just,
also, I'll say this, right? If you live long enough, it's like you realize, I'm sorry to say, but most people are chicken shit. You know what I mean? Like most people do not have the courage to stand up for a vision, let alone create one. So that's how you get like brave, groundbreaking TV or movies by people who have a vision, will not compromise with that vision because they know what they're trying to accomplish, you know, and that's how you have those types of creators. You know, you see it here on YouTube. There's a million creators out there who all parrot the same things. You know, you got to challenge yourself to be the one who says, I do not care about YouTube. I don't care about censorship. I have something that I want to say. I'm going to say it. You know, consequences be damned. The more people that you have on your team, the more people is going to be like, wait a minute now. You can't say that. Maybe if you use some code words, you know, maybe if you hide behind this, you know what I mean? And that's the reason why I believe they want to have all of these writers and things like that so they can control, they can intimidate, they can buy off. You know what I mean? I like to think about the untouchables. You know, you got to be untouchable with what you do, you know, and how you do it. No, I'm not taking that bribe. You know, no, I'm not going to be afraid of this consequence or that consequence. You only have a few people per generation that are going to be like that, you know, per, you know, when you're talking about like creativity and things like that, like true artists, true groundbreakers, true badasses. Everyone can't be based, you know what I mean? But the real ones are. And those are the ones that you leave alone if that's what you're truly looking for. If you're truly looking for something that is individual, and we all know the difference. It's like when you watch a movie that really touches you in a place where this is different. This is so different. Usually it came from one mind, one mentality, one philosophy. It's not a group of people. You know, that's how you just fuck it all up. So, you know, but they know what they're doing. Like I said, that's the way they could. That's the reason why we're in this situation that we're in now. A bunch of people, I don't want to get sidetracked here, but a bunch of people telling you to take a shot, for example, you know, and nobody has sense enough to stand up and say, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe it hasn't been long enough. This is where we are in general in our society. Group think.
And I'll wrap it up here with this question here for Neozoic. Says, what about the people who counter this argument? What about films that have multiple writers that were good, like Children of Men? Look, let me tell you something.
I know someone who
Children of Men fucking sucked. Stop it.
Never heard of it.
Oh, it's so annoying. It's everybody loves that movie, and it's like, no, please. It's a nihilistic liberal view of the future, and it's like, just go away.
Perfect. So every other movie
there
ever.
You go. There you go.
But on top of that, even if we were to accept that movie was good, here's the reality. That's the exception to the rule. It's not the rule. So there you go. So yeah, I'm totally 100% on board with Taylor Sheridan. I don't think there's anything that he can do that I can dislike at this point. Not to say that he wouldn't eventually, but right now I'm all in on Taylor Sheridan. I think this is a very, very stupid idea. But Hollywood is full of stupid ideas. That's why they hire writers. So
I don't think there's a lot of actual passion either. And from what I've seen of Sheridan, at least he seems to have some kind of passion for his work. I mean, you can't tell me that. I mean, like I think the only reason like James Gunn is like excited about the Warner Brothers DC universe stuff that he's in charge of is because it gives him money. And like just every other tweet I see from him about stuff makes me feel like this is some kind of therapy session for him.
Oh yeah.
Well,
he talked about how he cried when Spielberg told him he liked Guardians of the Galaxy. So, and I definitely made fun of him on Twitter for that. But yeah, he seems like a giant child. So I am bracing for what his DC universe is going to be like.
If you're going to be basically a writer for hire, and you're like, okay, I'm guaranteed 4 episodes of a show that I'm not interested in. Of course, there's not going to be any passion because you're basically a hired hand, and you're just going to put in, okay, I need character A to do A, B, Z. I need character B to do A, B, D, E, F. And then that's it. There's not going to be any interest because you're not creating. You're just there as the typist. You might as well just be a typist.
Yeah, you seem like you're having some audio and visual issues there. So we'll give you a second to fix those around. Now, I'm going to warn some of you guys here. We're going to flip the switch here and go over to a much heavier topic because this has kind of been a crazy topic when I first heard everything that went on. And then the days that fall in here, it's gotten far, far more interesting. So let me kind of back you up here on what exactly happened. This is a guy called Jimmy Levi, who I guess was a singer on American Idol not too long ago. I think like 2020 or 2021, so in the last couple of years. He was a singer that was on there. Apparently, he didn't get too far, but he did find some kind of ground in the music industry. He did songs with like XXXTentacion and what's her name, like BB Rare or something like that. I'm pretty sure somebody in there the chat can correct me. But over the last couple of years or so, I guess he turned his life around. He found God, became born again Christian, and now he's kind of doing more of that, right wing rap scene. Which, look, I personally not a big fan of that, but I mean, hey, it is what it is, right? So last week he came on to Jason Whitlock's show and kind of did like a little sit down interview with Jason Whitlock. And during the course of kind of like asking him like what he thought about, I think they were talking about like the Target controversy. I think his song was called "Reclaim the Rainbow" or something like that. And he went like basically unadulterated, just went and said that, hey, look, this is my experience in the Hollywood music industry, and this is what I saw. And he let off some very, very heavy stuff that I don't think anyone expected him to talk about. But I'll have essentially kind of a rundown of what he was saying on here. So this was last week. Jimmy Levi sat down with Jason Whitlock, and he said that while this time in Hollywood before, he found God, he was witness to some very occultic stuff, some very satanic stuff, and even said he was a witness to pedophilia. And this is what he saw on talking to Whitlock. He says that his family has been like in the entertainment industry for a while. He's a secular Jew who grew up in a kind of like an occultic type home. His grandmother was like a psychic for like people like Elvis Presley and Michael Jackson. His mother also is a psychic and a medium. And then he says that he's seen like ghosts and demons as well. So this is kind of the family that he grew up in, just give you a little bit of background. But he was talking about being raised like in this atmosphere and growing up in Hollywood. Now he said that at the time that he didn't believe in God, he didn't believe in Satan, he didn't believe in like any of this stuff. But what changed his view is that he was doing more secular music, and he was trying to be like dark and edgy like every other like artist is like right now, trying to be a Satanist, hanging around with people who were practicing witchcraft and stuff like that. And then the deeper he got into I guess the Hollywood bubble, because they thought that they were going to be acceptive of what they were doing behind the scenes, the more that he realized just how deep he was in. And this is what changed his entire perspective. Now, this is what he said on the interview. He said that he attended a party that was for influencers and some actors, right? He didn't say specifically what it was for, but they said it was like for influencers. I'm guessing like YouTube stars, like kind of like music business and whatnot. And he was at a house. It was a mansion party. And this is what he said. He said, I was at one party, and then they were upstairs, and they were having some sort of gathering where he saw naked old men in a room, and there were children upstairs. And it says, that would really shocked me. It said, I went there, being an influencer, like everyone was there was influencers and actors, he explained. He said, after his horrifying discovery, he found out that the home of the party that they attended, the owner of that home was a high-ranking member of the Satanic Temple. And then when he realized that he walked into essentially what was a satanic ritual being performed in front of him, right? So he went and started asking questions about like some of his peers at the time. And he said to himself that, I said, wait a minute, like Satan's not real. It's like I know about, Hasadam, which is like a Jewish term for Satan. He said, but Satan's not real. Like he's not like the Christian figure or anything like this. He said he's very real. And I wanted to talk to the guy he was talking to. He said, Satan is very real. I want you to introduce you to these people. So he started meeting people in the industry that were awake and was realizing that they were all part of the occult, and they were all sharing like different experiences with like witchcraft. And that's when he realized that this wasn't a joke like anymore. Like he was in fact a part of people who were like worshiping Satan. So when he came to this realization, he became terrified and said that led him to essentially go to Florida to a friend that he knew was Christian and essentially baptize him, because he was terrified. He thought that he was like, because he was a part of this group, that he was condemned for hell forever, right? So he says that, a lot of people started coming at me in the industry saying, you better shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. A lot of people started to notice that they were getting very defensive about him, very defensive towards him, especially towards like the more pedophilic aspects. Some of his favorite actors said they were very defensive towards him. This is him describing the kind of like the backlash about it. So Whitlock was completely shocked by what he was saying here, because he didn't think that he was going to get like this answer or confession from him. So he asked him straight up, it's like, well, how how much of Hollywood do you think are part of this satanic occult? He said that it's about 70-30. He says that I think there's about 70%, a big chunk of people who are on or on the evil side. But I do think there are people who are on the good side of humanity. They realize what's going on and what runs amok in the industry. However, the problem is that they care more about their family, their well-being, and their money. So even though they're not a part of the club, they know what's going on, but money becomes their god, so they don't speak out against it, right? So this was just a completely insane interview that he gave here. He was talking about how the music industry promotes things that causes people to kill people and stuff like that. So this was crazy. So what happened is that I wrote this article for Bounding in the Comics. Josh, who, as y'all know, our condescending Josh, our drunk fan, was doing the editing for it, and he hit me up a few days ago. He said, "Hey, the interview of the video interview got taken down. Do you have another video interview?" It's like, yeah, I think they privated one of the videos, but here's the full interview here. I went back to the full interview that's up on Whitlock's site, and they took the whole thing down. He's even taken down off of YouTube as well. So the interview that he did that went live on the air a week ago, it's been completely nuked off the internet, and there's really been no explanation to why they nuked it in the first place. So here's a guy, American Idol guy. He's talked about, being in the entertainment industry. He has a couple of hit songs before he got saved, saying that, hey, look, this is what I experienced with my own two eyes. This is what I saw, and this is where I realized that I had to make a change here. And that interview's been completely scrubbed off the internet. So I don't even know what's the status of that article. It's pretty much done, but we don't have the video article to back it up. So we don't want to just pretend like that we're just making this stuff up. Like, he really did say this. It was kind of transcribed last week, but yeah, this is kind of like a mind-blowing development for us. I think we've always kind of been in that realm of conspiracy theories where there's always been talk about, the Illuminati, and there's all these occult things that are happening in Hollywood. And for a while, we all kind of just laughed it up. It's like, they're not really doing any of this stuff. Maybe they're LARPing. Maybe they're just trying to get a reaction out of people. And then this guy, like I said, completely unprovoked, went on Whitlock's show and admitted that no, all this totally goes on in Hollywood, and I was a witness to it himself. There was one other thing that I wanted to bring up to you, but I'll kind of save that towards the end of it. So I guess I'm gonna roll this one up with you, Mark. You are the gospel here. What do you think of Jimmy Levy saying that Hollywood is essentially as evil as everyone thinks that it is?
Yeah, he's just the latest one to get in it and see it. I mean, we've heard people talking about this for a long time. Every now and then one breaks through and tells the truth about what they're seeing, and they find a way to sweep it under the rug and make it look silly. You can expect, if he were big enough, I don't know if he's quite that big, but they have an all-out attack on him. They get Jimmy Kimmel and all of these people to make fun of him, at the beginning of all their shows. It's just what Hollywood is. Hollywood is a sick place, and when you really think about it, we don't need these guys to tell us these things and make these declarations. All you need to do is see what it's producing, see what they're giving us, and put it in historical context. Look at how far we've come, since at least the semblance of some type of morality on TV and in the movies. If you look at the progression of showbiz, Hollywood, in the 50s, 60s, you could at least say the word God, and Jesus and things that you might believe personally. These days, I made a point on the other stream that we were on, Jacob, you can't even say God bless you anymore without somebody saying, there is no such thing as God. Oh, you're so stupid. And people will openly mock you for what you believe. Yep. And the thing about it is there's nothing that like the opposite of that. In other words, when people start spewing all of these satanic concepts and ideas, nobody mocks that. You know what I mean? It's like that's they can do whatever they want. But if you even try to represent something of Christianity, or Islam, I mean anything, that you might believe, Judaism, you can be sure that somebody is going to try to put that down. So yeah, behind closed doors, you're going to see these things because, I mean, we know that the industry, it eats their young. People have been talking about this pedo thing for a long time. Yeah. You see what it does to these kids. What do you think? They just wig out for nothing? These child actors and stuff. They've seen some stuff, man. They've been through some stuff. The proof is there. We need to stop looking for a smoking gun and the one that we think is the most credible. We know what this is. The problem is we all pay into it every weekend.
Yeah.
You know, we go run into the box office. You know, we pay our cable bill, stuff like that. We don't want to know too much. But damn it, we all know what it is.
Yep. You know, Rob, it's funny because me and you were kind of like in the same lane. We talked about this before, how, you know, we back in like the older days of YouTube, we heard all these conspiracy theories like that. We heard the videos. And back then, I mean, the way that I kind of looked at it, because when I first heard about this whole like Illuminati conspiracy theory, I think it was back in like 2008, 2009. And for me at the time, the reason why I didn't believe it, because for me, there just wasn't enough evidence like to back it up. Like I was hearing people saying that, oh, Rihanna is a part of this and Jay-Z. And I was like, really? Rihanna, Jay-Z? Like they don't strike me as the type of people who would be into this. And based on what I saw back then, it was like I couldn't really gauge, be like, oh yeah, no, this is just complete like BS and then stuff like that. But as time has gone on, it's like that little seed that got planted years ago, and I start looking about the type of things that Hollywood promotes, the type of things that are kind of rife in the music industry, the movie industry. You can even look at the fashion industry if you want to these days. I mean, it gets to a point where you start seeing stuff with your own two eyes and you can't just ignore it like it's not there anymore. Like you have to start asking yourself. Go ahead.
Because this is wonderful for me, because I've been run out of so many parties in my life, you know, for pointing stuff. Like I used to be that guy at the party that would be like, why are those symbols in Beyonce's videos? You know, why are all of that symbolism in Rihanna's videos and Katy Perry and all of this stuff? And I would just be pointing that out, and people would be like, man, get the fuck out of here. Nobody wants to hear about
why
that.
is every music video they're drenched in blood, and why is everyone wearing black and red? It's like you start putting these things together. It's like, look, I can't keep ignoring what's in my face anymore, right? Like, you know what I mean?
Go ahead, do it in the mirror and tell yourself this is natural. And why does everybody do it? It's just okay. You know what I mean?
Well, and look, from a younger person's perspective, you know, when I was growing up, I looked at it more from, oh, well, of course you would, this is just good, common, sort of conservative life advice. Hey, don't run off and join the flashy circus. You know, stay away from power centers and places that have temptation, and just sort of just general good advice, right? For people that come from a conservative or Christian background. But here's the problem. I have defended Hollywood for a long time, knowing how abusive the studio system was, that it's a business that's built on the exploitation of people. Because the art was frankly fantastic. The art, it really is good, really is entertaining, really does captivate, and has for the last 100 years. Here's the problem. It's not doing that anymore. The art is gone. Like what they produce now is so soulless, so empty, it's so beyond the point of what movies are supposed to do, and to show us human experiences and connect us to each other and show us places and people that we've never come across before. And you know, in storytelling terms, you know, change our lives. Like these are all wonderful things, but I really can't ignore all the stories, all the whispers, you know, and it's really disturbing. It's like the fact that The Blaze took this off their site. Now, like I kind of believe behind the scenes things like the Daily Wire and The Blaze are, you know, just playing the other side of the culture war. Yeah. So I don't know how much they're, you know, really speaking for individual, you know, conscientious Christian minded people, as more than just, you know, playing it up as a business model. But this is definitely concerning, and it's something that, you know, I don't really have an answer to. I certainly don't want to defend it because it's just weird. You know, I love the movies. I always will, but there's things like this are just incredibly hard to ignore. The Bryan Singer thing from years ago. I mean, the way that people like wanted to sweep that under the rug, and it was like, I'm sorry, you're gonna look at that, you're gonna hear about the story, the boat in Seattle, that guy who basically got away and said, I felt like I was in danger of my life, the weird house parties with all the 15-year-old boys around the pool and shit. Like, I'm sorry, any normal person hearing this shit should be alarmed, should be concerned. And, you know, I for years, maybe I brushed it under the rug and said, hey, it's Hollywood. It's a power center. People are individuals. You know, it's risky. It's whatever. But yeah, if you meet the right people, you could have a career or whatever. And, you know, maybe I just didn't think about it enough. But it's really gross, because it's like, oh, this has been going on the entire time, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, we were watching the film Babylon like 6 months ago, and Babylon's supposed to be like, keep in mind, like, here's another thing about Hollywood. They love, for people who don't like talking about Jesus Christ and don't like talking about Christianity, they sure like to sneak in a lot of Bible references in their films and their television shows. But the film Babylon is supposed to be a celebration of Hollywood. At least that's where we're believed to be. But literally the first 2 minutes of the movie, there's like a coked out hooker pissing on, I guess it's supposed to be a Hollywood producer or something like that, and they're having like the most degenerate sex party you could possibly imagine, like in your mind. This is supposed to be, oh, this is the good old days of Hollywood. Don't you remember the 1930s? And then it's like they're kind of like snitching on themselves in a sense of like, this is what Hollywood kind of has always been. It's like the public sees it as just like movies and television show, like just in the realm of entertainment. It's like, even growing up in like our generation, like we kind of looked at Hollywood as like Entourage. It's just like, oh, you just go there, you do movies, you have these big house parties, you sleep with a bunch of women, you do some drugs, and it's all fun and games. Like, but you don't really think about the real sinister background behind all of this stuff that goes on behind closed doors here. Cider, let me ask you this question, because I don't know exactly like where you land on the whole conspiracy theory thing, but I feel like a lot of this was reported on years ago with the whole WikiLeaks thing, and you know that there was several theories that broke out about that, which of course people got slammed for even talking about. There was a time where you couldn't even talk about these things on YouTube because, you know, it's like, hey, this is not true, so just stop bringing it up now. But it's like I said, after a while, you kind of have to just believe that these people are exactly who they tell you that they are, right?
Well, you know, there's a problem with this kind of like situation. Okay, we know, and they know we know, but they know that we can't do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
What we can do is we can strip them of the profits they're making to sustain this lifestyle of evil. But at the end of the day, this is so big and so evil that you're never going to see them lined up and sent to the gallows in Minecraft. That's never going to happen. I'm sorry. That is a gigantic national security issue. If we just walked up to the world stage and be like, every part of our elite system, from entertainment to government, right down to your postal worker, has something to do with diddling kids. And what are we going to... They have every right to nuke us into the dark ages from that point on. Every right. I wouldn't protest it. Nor would you. It's everywhere. It's in everything. What we can do is begin the process that took 100 years to get here, maybe longer, but it may take 100 years to get back. But we have to unwind this knot very carefully, or else we risk everything that the good people built about this nation because of a handful of evil people that became very popular when we all got obsessed with our glowy little phones.
Yep, 100%.
Interesting.
Johnson, what's kind of your perspective of this, especially as a saved lady like yourself?
Oh, yes. I do think demons are real. I've had a few of them chasing me this week, and I can feel it, you know. And I actually went to church and like got prayed over this weekend. It was really like a relief. So I highly recommend it. I think that on some level, like, so I agree with what Cider said. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. This is a powerful system, and we're kind of chipping away little by little if we do anything.
Yeah.
And it would take a large, coordinated, like monster scale level to do anything that would be like leave a lasting fix on it. Because I mean, like, you do hear the stories. There are people that have, I mean, like, that Maxwell lady is in prison, and Weinstein is in prison, and there are, you know, celebrities who have their own private islands and basically can do whatever they want without arousing suspicion, you know. And I mean, like, it's not hard to think that if you're capable of getting away with something, that you wouldn't be tempted to do it, especially if it was likely that you would come out like a winner. You know, you get your big payday, big haul, or whatever. I think on some
a big part of it is just like, when you look at the temptation of Hollywood, and we see this in like a lot of industries, but Hollywood's kind of like the big example here. It's that, it's the idea that, hey, you want to be in the club? We'll offer you women, we'll offer you money, we'll offer you drugs, the biggest house in the world, and we'll give you the world. But I mean, hey, you got to be a part of the club if you want these things. And because we live, I hate to say this because it sounds like such a meme, but we live in a society where people, all they do is really just worship money and material things. It's like, to some of these people, there's no price that's too high to obtain what they covet, what they envy, right? So it's like, hey, if I'm going to be the biggest star in the world, I'm going to have a $200 million estate somewhere in Calabasas or something like that. It's like, well, sure, maybe I'll do some rituals, maybe I'll do some satanic stuff on the side. But I mean, what's the big deal? Because I'm getting what I want right away, and no one's thinking of the long-term repercussions of this. And I do find one thing I do find interesting from what he said here is like, because I always wonder myself here, it's like, do these guys not understand like what they're getting into when they do stuff like this? Like, they all just convince themselves it's like, well, if I worship evil, then I mean I won't be punished because I'm on the side of Satan or whatever the case is? Or do they all think that this is just one big joke, like in their mind? It's like, it seems like Jimmy came from a place where he was kind of naive to the point where he thought that, oh, none of this is like really real, like none of this is legit. So it's like, yeah, I'll worship Satan because I don't believe in Satan anyway. But then when reality hit him, it was like, oh crap, this is real, and I'm on the wrong side of things. That's where it kind of like comes down to you. And you have to wonder, like, Jimmy, unfortunately, was one of the guys that had the realization that, okay, this is not a place that I want to be. I need to get away from here. But you also have to acknowledge that there's a lot of people who came to the same realization and then said, okay, fine, I'm all in. And those are the people you have to watch out for.
Yeah, well, and it's important to remember too that like it's almost kind of like you get the like if you invite demonic activity into your life, you do a lot of the times get rewarded for it initially, but it's like getting someone's big credit card. It's like you can go on a spending spree and get all this nice stuff, but when the bill comes, you have to pay, and you have to pay in blood, and usually it's either your own or somebody else's, and it's it is horrifying that when people realize how seduced they've been by the angel of light, who turns out to be this demonic soul-sucking monster, and it is really hard, I think, to climb out of it because once they're in, they can get in even further. They can bring all the friends. I mean, that's. I will say. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Everybody interrupts me.
Yeah, she just keeps talking. I mean, I don't know what's the
no, but
it's that extra leg on my XX chromosomes.
All right.
I do want to say real quick though, the one conspiracy thing that I looked into when I was like 19 that still creeps me out when I think about it is you look at how many celebrities, like prominent celebrities have had a family member die. And it's in like a suspicious way or a violent way, and I'm just like, I am uncomfortable with the amount of coincidences that exist in that manner. So that, to what CS just said, that's all I'm going to say. You ever want to creep yourself out, look into it. So
yeah, I mean, dude, you don't think that there's people out there who wouldn't sell out one of their family members or someone close to them for a little bit of fame and money? Like,
Jennifer Lawrence,
called the blood sacrifice, guys, and it happens all the time.
Megan Fox.
I'll say this: I don't subscribe to the fact or the possibility that or the idea that there's nothing that we could do about this. Look, man, there's more of us than there are of them. That's the reason why they stay trying to separate us by race, by culture, religion, gender, all of that stuff. What they fear the most is that people realize that there are more of us than there are of them. Satan doesn't get to fucking win. You understand? It never is ever going to happen. Any person of faith knows this. So the question is, what was it? The old Untouchables movie when Sean Connery says, everybody knows where the booze are or where it is. The question is, what are you prepared to do? A people who is not afraid to die will never lose. We're afraid to die because we really don't know what's on the other side. So a lot of us don't want to come out of our comfort zone. We don't want to go to war. We just want to be left in peace. That's human nature. There's nothing wrong with that, except for the fact that we're being targeted. and our children are being targeted. Now, if anybody out there watches my videos, I talk about my relationship with my son a lot. He is the inspiration for everything that I do. He was the answer to my prayers, and that's the reason why. We didn't know if we were going to be able to have a kid. We did, and I'll never, ever take it for granted. But the thing that haunts me the most is that when my time runs out, I didn't do anything to protect him from what I know is out there. Why should we leave it to our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids to have to deal with something that we were alive to put a dent in, at least? So even if it's just talking on this panel right here, it's a powerful thing, because a lot of people are just talking tonight about I don't know, James Gunn. Well, we were talking about that too, but I'm just
whatever's
saying,
trending on Twitter.
You know what I mean? Or Barbie or something like that. We were talking about that stuff, but there's room for this too. And I give you respect here, Jacob, because you're bringing this up, because this is something that more people need to actually consider. When we lay down to go to sleep, that we do anything to increase people's consciousness so that we're at least pushing back against the programming that's being rained down on our children in school, in their programming non-stop. That's the thing. And this is something I've been saying in my videos, the last few videos. Don't give up the fight. A lot of people are thinking because, we have some independent creators and stuff, they're not going to leave independent creators alone. One of your people in the chat just said that's the reason why they come in Eric July, because that's a threat. That's a threat. Independent thought is a threat. So this is a war of sorts.
I want to hold that thought because we're going to jump over to kind of a similar topic here just for a second. I'll get back to you. Well, go ahead, real quick. No,
I'm just saying, am I coming in first off? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah,
okay.
We hear you.
All right. Look, all I kept thinking of is if you wanted really to look at old naked men in front of children, just go to like the Portland Pride Parade.
Yeah, all the pride parades we saw this last week.
You could see that. But when it comes to this, you are kind of selling yourself out. Even if you don't believe in demons or the occult or what have you, you are still paying a price when you decide to compromise in many ways for fame and fortune and everything that goes with it. You are compromising maybe your virtue. You are compromising maybe your principles. You are compromising other things. People, do you not study Faust? Look what happened to him. Look what happened to Dr. Faustus. It's the same thing. Nothing changes. Nothing changes in that respect. That's my view.
Yep. Yeah, so I just wanted to jump over to a similar topic here. So if you guys have noticed over the last few weeks, we've talked about witchcraft quite a lot. And it's because a lot of these actresses and stars in Hollywood are coming out pretty much openly saying, yeah, we're witches, we're part of covenants, we practice witchcraft, stuff like that. We had, just to rewind on a few stories we've talked about, we had the Vanessa Hudgens story where she's doing a show on Tubi about witchcraft and trying to promote witchcraft to young women. And keep in mind, it's a lot of young women who are involved with this, so pay attention, because that's a trend that they're going after here. Emma Watson came out with a post not too long ago, openly claiming witchcraft. Megan Fox has been going around saying that she's a witch, and she's apparently trying to put death curses on people over the last few weeks as well. Elizabeth Olsen last year talked about how her and the cast of WandaVision, how they dabble in witchcraft and stuff like that. So this is what they're selling you, and keep in mind. So here we have Taylor Swift, who apparently people are starting to open their eyes about her concerts over the last few weeks. She's on a big stadium tour, performing on like every major football stadium in the country right now. I think she's supposed to be doing like a big set in LA sometime in the next few weeks here. But people are like, yeah, she has a song out there called Willow, and it seems like she may be performing some kind of witchcraft ritual during her show. So people were like, is she another witch? She's doing the same thing. Now here's a couple of videos that came from Twitter showing just kind of like the performances that you're seeing here on her stuff. And there's a couple of videos on here. I think I'm trying to get the next one here too, because there's two different angles from this here. I can't play the audio obviously because it's going to get claimed, because
that was spooky as shit. That one.
Oh yeah.
They were fan camming that, and I was like, "Do you know what you're doing, little girls? Don't do that."
Yeah. So a lot of people were like, okay, like what's going on here? Like people, like I said, people are starting to wake up and put two and two together, and they're not liking the conclusion that they're coming to. Here's another video, essentially, the same thing.
Hey,
that they
wait a
notice here.
minute. That's Satanism.
Yeah. But so people are asking. But people are asking here. It's like, keep in mind, Taylor Swift has a massive fan base, especially with young girls. Like, young girls absolutely worship Taylor Swift, and I'm not even being like
You're not kidding at all.
cynical
You're not
at all when I say that.
You're not exaggerating.
Yeah. So
total Elvis effect for a lady.
Oh yeah, like put it this way: for what Beyonce is the black women, Taylor Swift is the white women. Let's just put it very blatantly there. But yeah, so people are like, okay, like what's going on here? Is this more of the occult that we were talking about in Hollywood here? Witness with our O2 eyes, and I feel like this goes back to, if you remember WikiLeaks and the whole thing about the spirit cooking. What they told you was, oh, it's just performance art. Don't look any further into it, right? But the woman who was involved with that, was her name, like Marina Abramovic or whatever her name was. Turns out that she was like this shady occultic person who had ties to a lot of the biggest names in Hollywood. Like, you see videos of her with Will Ferrell, what's her name, Gwen Stefani, Jay-Z, obviously the Podestas, the Clintons and stuff like that, Lady Gaga.
Obama.
All these people have been involved with her, and she does what she calls quote unquote performance art, but it's all very occultic, it's all very satanic, and it seems like the little hidden coven of witches and witchcraft that in Hollywood that used to be just a conspiracy theory now is now coming out to the light and everyone's seeing it, right? And we're talking about, well, what can we do if all these people are into it? It's like the only thing we can really do is expose exactly what these people are doing so that people don't fall victim to it and don't be so naive that they don't see, hey, look, I'm pretty sure most of you guys listen to it may have kids or daughters or friends who are super into Taylor Swift. Like, make sure you know exactly who this person is before you go all in on it, because you may not like the road that they're taking you to. Orange Hat, I want to start off with you here because you can talk much about what we were talking about here, but just kind of your thoughts on the whole thing and about Taylor Swift here. What's your view of what's going on?
Well, first off, a lot of people up here hate Taylor Swift. Everybody in my family hates Taylor Swift, including the girls. And as a person who has actually experienced things that are of a darker nature, not voluntarily, mind you, people really should not fuck with it, because eventually you're going to get what you want and you're going to realize it's not what you really want. I mean, all this shit, this lovely little witchcraft that they call it, it usually comes at a cost. And that cost is more than just your soul. It's going to come in very uncomfortable ways. And when I see things like this, honestly, I'm black-pilled for the most part, because it's like, or it's not so much black-pilled where I don't give a crap. It's like people are not willing to do, well, as Liam Neeson said, what is necessary to defeat evil. Because there does come a point where, yes, you can rail against it all you want, but when is it going to be enough to where you finally take a stand and say, all right, absolutely no more? Because let's face it, we said in the previous topic, there's a lot of twisted shit going on in Hollywood. Well, yeah, the box office is, or what leads to our entertainment, but maybe people do need to start taking that stand. That's why I do not seek any modern movies in the theaters anymore. I've revamped my channel to doing older movies. Yes, I realize that that it's still a part of the same toxic shit that is Hollywood now, but honestly, I would rather watch the old stuff, because I don't want to feed any more into the newer stuff, because that's exactly how I see it. It's by giving money to the box office currently, by doing all the reviews for the new shit, I'm basically just supporting that crap. And I would rather not do that. So yeah, when it comes to this stuff, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't ever want to meet these people, because I would be too tempted to freaking just heat up a damn cross and say, you need to touch this, or splash them with holy water or something.
Mm-hmm.
because it's like
just say Jesus Christ a bunch of times. They usually act very fearful of that. So like
I will
most
say,
people do.
I will say something. Orange Hat talking about older movies. I've noticed this over the last couple of years, watching older movies almost predominantly, and it's that they either didn't used to hate, the sort of average American, just average American individual, or they hid their resentment. They used to make movies for God-fearing, conservative people with
Hays
principles,
Code.
people with, you know what I mean, though? It doesn't even matter with the Hays Code. I mean, in the 60s, the early 60s, they made all kinds of movies that were about all sorts of issues and people in the Midwest and Elia Kazan, and you know what I mean? So they used to not
just real quick,
you still had the Hays Code, and the production code was still pretty strong up to the 60s, where it started collapsing because the artists needed to express themselves and they felt that all of these restrictions were too hard. One of the things that the Hays Code had was that, you couldn't make fun of the clergy. Criminals had to be arrested or they had to be caught in the end. Very rarely did they ever get away with it. And if they did, it was something that slipped through. So you couldn't show a married couple in bed. You certainly couldn't insinuate that they went to bed without the benefit of marriage. So you had that. Now you have something else entirely, where you can show the whole process.
And keep in mind, I've mentioned this plenty of times too. I think a big part of that is like what you're saying. Like back in the 80s, I believe was the last time it was counted. You had 31 studios that were crafting all your entertainment. So 31 studios were responsible for all your movies, all your television shows. So you had a diversity in content because you had a whole bunch of different studios that were creating stuff. Like it wasn't just like one idea in Hollywood at that time, but thanks to consolidation and all of these major studios have swallowed up all the smaller ones. Now you're really down to like a big four, like at the moment. Like your big four studios are what? Disney, Comcast, Warner Brothers, Paramount. Maybe you can throw Sony in there if you want to, but I mean that's pretty much it. So now you just have 3 or 4 major companies that control everything that you watch, and they all have the exact same ideology. So you don't get that diversity in content anymore. Everyone's placing the exact same agenda because the business itself has become so incestuous at this point as well.
Well, the diversity comes in the physical appearance or the preferences of the people who work at the studios, not so much in diversity of thought. But as for T Swift performing occult magic or whatever she's doing on stage, not a surprise. I mean, I think this is one of those cases where they enjoy throwing things out. You have people like Sam Smith, who dresses up like the Satan, and Little Nas X, and all of these other people.
Sam Smith, who stopped being a man, you mean?
Well, he needs Weight Watchers more than Satan Watchers. I would just say that all of these people enjoy doing this because it's supposed to be shocking and scandalous. Maybe they do think, like I tweeted out, that there were these gay protesters who were wearing not today Jesus and Satan, Satan loves LGBT or whatever. And I'm thinking, that is not a good selling point. This is not a case of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But all of these people are absolutely convinced that Christianity, particularly Protestant evangelical Christianity, is this unrelenting force of evil that they will go and celebrate evil to kind of stick it in our faces. It's just not going to work. Taylor Swift should know that it looks very bizarre, this kind of ritual like performance. I mean, I'm thinking, what song is she performing this to? It's like a lot of her songs seem to be very poppy. Not that I like any of her songs, and I mean, they could play them and I wouldn't even know the difference between one or the other. So she should know. But again, maybe she's just doing it for the quote shock value. This very waspy figure who's doing these occult rituals on stage. I don't know, but it doesn't shock. It more irritates. It's you want to do something shocking.
Is
write
it
a
the
good song.
70s though? Is it Black Sabbath? And like, you know what I mean? Like, this is what doesn't make any sense is that I literally traffic in trying to shock people on Twitter every fucking day. And if it was a truly shocking thing, I seriously, I get the idea of performance art. I get the idea of being like, I'm so rebellious, I'm anti-Christian or whatever. But like in the modern day, that's not shocking. It's as predictable as anything, as a pop star pouring milk all over herself back in the day. So I mean, it's just like that. It doesn't elicit any kind of a shock value. It's the most predictable thing you could do to try to quote unquote be edgy. So I don't think
I'm glad you brought. I'm glad you brought that up because there's a couple of things here. Like you guys have followed me on Twitter. I always go back to it's just art, bro. Like that's the excuse. But people always try to say, oh, they're just doing it to shock you. They don't actually mean what they're doing. That's been a cope for quite some time, going all the way back to the days of the quote unquote satanic panic. Because remember, like 40 years ago when people were noticing that, hey, there's a lot of weird stuff going in the music industry back then, but they labeled it the satanic panic so that people wouldn't think that, oh, well, they're not actually doing this. They're just doing this to shock you. They're just trying to get a reaction out of you. And what that really is that that's people coping because they don't want to accept the reality of, well, what if they're not doing this to get a reaction out of you? What if it's not just one big LARP? What if they're actually portraying exactly who they are in reality, right? Then that means that you would have to come to the conclusion that, oh, okay, these people are just evil. And a lot of people don't want to accept that. So they have to accept, oh, it has to be some kind of shock value. It has to be some other explanation. It can't be the most obvious one like that we've all come to. And I feel like, especially with the whole Taylor Swift, like Taylor Swift is just kind of like a microcosm of all this, but it goes to a much bigger point. These people have pretty much adopted the mentality of demons, whether they're demon possessed because they flirted around with witchcraft for so long that they're no longer in control of what they do anymore. That's a completely different conversation. But these people have adopted a anti-human mentality. This whole, you can go to the transhumanism and a lot of other angles here, but they've adopted the hatred that over humanity, that real nihilism that demons have because they hate what they view as God's creation, which is us humans. And I know that may seem a little bit too biblical for some of you people, but you have to start understanding that there's a much bigger play that's going on here right now. And yeah, maybe you can go to a stadium show and she's performing a little witchcraft ritual in front of like 50,000 people, and it's not a big deal. But if you don't start putting the dots together, and the dots have been laid out for you, so you can't sit here and say, well, nobody told me, no one ever told me that this is going on. Like, people have been trying to tell you for quite some time, you just haven't listened. So maybe it's time to get into the game and realize exactly what's going on here. It's a game and you're not a part of it, or if you are a part of it, it's not in your favor. So
yeah, well, and the other thing to remember too is that like with Marxism and the Marxist theology stuff, is that they understand that this takes time. So even if like this is like the first time that she's been doing it, it's kind of sus, or maybe this first and second, it's a one-off. You can do the just start bro thing, but you can't do it if it's a repeated pattern. And the pattern, as we've seen in power vortexes, they tend to repeat with more frequency and more intensity the longer it goes on. So I would absolutely step up and say stop supporting her now. So
notice how she started doing this shit after she started getting political.
Well, I think politics is kind of like the
devil's playground.
It's everybody, I think, wants, most people want to just be left alone. And unfortunately, like, you have to have enough power to be able to ensure that to happen. And usually that means gaining some kind of political power. Like, even like as the gospel was saying earlier, like it's not acceptable for us to do nothing, but what like Cider was saying with the industry is it's an industry and it's been built up over decades and generations, and we have to kind of chip at it. And they have whole big political sort of political and industry like bylaws. I mean, there's a lot of support going into this cathedral of death.
Yeah.
So we have we're kind of just spitting at the buttresses right now. So
I just want to say too, guys, you heard me mention earlier about the degradation of hip hop, and how it started, believe it or not, as a party thing then it moved kind of more into a positive political kind of thing. You heard, everyone knows Public Enemy, you know, things like that. KRS-One was a popular rapper in the Bronx who was doing self-destruction. He was telling everyone, you know, in the streets, you can't keep killing yourself. You have to start loving yourself, things like that. The music took a downturn where, you know, everything was about gangsterism, you know, like right around that time, you know, everyone spun off into NWA, gangster rap, you know, everything happened from there. The kids took it into their hearts and in their minds and in their personas, and it just degraded a whole generation, you know. So I always tell people, you got to look at that generation right there. Those black kids in the hoods and the ghettos is the canary in the coal mine. That's the way it's going to happen to the larger group of kids in America, because white kids are the biggest consumers of hip hop out there, you know. So it's like, you look at, you know, what's happened there. You look at Taylor Swift and, you know, these pop acts who are introducing Satanism into these things. It is not harmless. You know, it's not something that just is just going to be a fad. It's not just something that's there for shock value. I see these kids looking like they're dead outside my door every single day. I've seen what this so-called music does to a generation. You know what I'm saying? It's like every single day I have to run interference from my son with that. He is now 14, going to be 15 this year. Every single day that shit calls out to him. And I have to be that strong influence in his life every day to run interference there. You know, so I know this is not something that's there for just shock value. These kids are out here being depressed. You know, they don't see their lives ahead of them. They don't know who they are gender-wise. You know, we are fucking them up, you know, and we're doing it through these things, through these rituals. You know, Taylor Swift, she might sound like a pop singer with the songs that she sings and the words, but you know something, Satan moves through rhythm, all right, through tones, through vibrations. So you shouldn't be so much listening to her words and her lyrics as much as the tune that she's singing over, the arrangement of strings, you know, things like that. These things, man, it's like, this is bigger than most people are comfortable thinking about, the onslaught that these kids are having to go through every day. You know, so it's like, I was talking to teachers and things like that, and they're telling me there are more kids today who are going to child psychologists, you know, things like that. They're practically beating down the door. These kids having suicidal thoughts, you know, like this is our pandemic. This is our epidemic. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like they you know, thinking about diseases and things like this. What about diseases of the heart, diseases of the mind, and where these kids are getting this from? You know, so this is what I'm saying. It's like we have to really, really be on guard about these things. We can't afford to be thinking, oh, it's just innocent. It's just innocent what she's doing on stage. Oh, it's just a show. No, I promise you it's not, because these kids are out here dying, man. They are slow dying, and these are going to be the next generation. They're supposed to have empathy, compassion for one another. Look at where we are. Everyone's looking down in their phones, you know, being hypnotized by these rays, man. They got these things in our ears and everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, what's it doing to us? Can't afford to just wave things off, man. We're too far into this game for that now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you add in a lot of the like drug culture, it doesn't help either. One of my author friends, he actually works as like a drug counselor at like a high school, and he's talked with me before about some of the studies that he's done, you know, in pursuit of his like he also is like a pastor. And he's mentioned that the like with medical marijuana, it can affect the frontal cortex of your mind, which is where a lot of religious studies have shown that's where God kind of like connects with you. And it's I don't forget everything, like, or I forget like how to, I don't remember everything that he said specifically about it, but I thought it was kind of neat. And it is really tragic to kind of watch like the last 10 years, like really cut off people's, like the mind body connection. Even, I know that sounds a little new agey and stuff, but like the idea that your body and your spirit are designed by God and to function together as one. And that you've kind of like over the years, they've like, especially with like materialism and stuff, like you can't have like I said earlier, you can't have baby it's cold outside, but you can have all this like sexually explicit stuff in rap lyrics. Like this idea that you know, your body and your mind are so far away from each other that it's made people stupid and sick and very selfish, and it is really tragic to kind of think that
let me ask
we're only one generation removed from that.
Yeah. Let me ask Neo's question real quick, and then we'll move on to the closer here. I said, do you think communism and Marxism plays a role in this? Because it's very anti-religious. Yeah, I mean, look, anytime that you've had essentially a communist or majority communist nation, Christianity is usually one of the first things to go. And there's a reason for that. It's not a coincidence here. And I go back to something that, if you guys remember, former pro wrestler Stevie Richards once said, doing an interview not too long ago, but I mean, it makes perfect sense. A lot of people are going to look at all this stuff and they're still going to deny it because, you know, they don't believe in anything. So it's like they can't accept the idea that there's something going on that's bigger than them. And this is what Stevie Richards just said. It's like, look, it doesn't matter what you believe. It matters what they believe, because if they believe it, that means it's real to them. And that means that you should act accordingly if that's the case. Right. So that's kind of just the way that I look at it. I mean, look, we've covered a lot of these stories now. I think people are starting to put the puzzles together. And all I have to say is that, you know, when you come to the conclusion, act accordingly, because, you know, you never know how long this is going to go on. It could be for a lot longer. It could be a lot shorter. So, I mean, hey.
Well, I mean, like, in speaking to Neo's question again, still, the Marxism complements it very nicely, because you have, like, when you have religion and anti-religion, in a sense, you still have the same things. You still have, like, the like in the Bible, we have prayers. We have in Catholicism, they have praying the rosary. They have at church services. You have these different, like, symbolistic kind of rituals, like the taking, like, confession, and the baptisms, and even marriage has a lot of symbolism wrapped in it. And with this kind of thing, is like you have that in witchcraft, and I think, like I said, Marxism kind of takes away religion, and then this pushes the anti-religion, and you can have multiple sources of this, whether it's music or the media you consume, the drugs you consume, the food you consume. There's, like, just a lot of crap in some of our food.
Oh yeah.
And then you have, like, drugs, like making everybody uncomfortable for a moment. Like, I can't tell you how disturbing some of, like, the birth control conversations I've had with my OBGYN are. They just really want you on something. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah. I mean,
And,
we could talk about, like, the effects of psychedelic drugs on human beings too, because there's a lot that I can say about that. I really want to get into the deep things, but we'll stick with the witch.
Yeah, and there's technology too, and just, like, other things. So, but yes, that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that, communism is the state replaces religion. That's what communism is. It becomes your religion. It becomes your faith. It's why, like, I am an atheist, or an agnostic, I guess, because I just don't know. But it's like, becoming understanding that and having a critical thinking, right, is the same idea that you have people that are slaves to the government, or slaves to paying their taxes, or whatever it might be. And it's like, it's the same kind of thing. So and again, I'm sure people are not happy that I'm being like, hey, think for yourself, don't be religious. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm just saying, think for yourself, period. So you can still do that. And still
I mean, that comes into play in religion too. I mean, look how many sex Christianity has.
I mean, here's another thing. If people, I've said this several times on Twitter and other thing. It's like, if people really want to make a difference, they need to take drastic action. If over 3 million people were to stop paying their taxes, just absolutely stop, the government can't arrest 3 million people. They don't have they're already bitching about prison overpopulation. So if people were to actually take those drastic steps, sudden kind of movements like that, look at the boycott going on with Bud Light and stuff. If they would actually put forward the will to do this stuff, we would see a lot more changes. It's all in the will.
I don't know about that. I mean, if the 3 million people stop paying
Why, you
their
wanna pay
taxes, well, no, I imagine if the 3 million stop paying their taxes, they would end up putting them in those concentration camps with the transgender youth that DeSantis has in Florida. Because I've been assured that that's, somewhere in the swamps, that's what's going on.
Would you please shut the hell up?
Gentlemen, we're gonna move on to our closer here.
Yeah.
Well, from one demon to another, let's talk about Kathleen Kennedy here, because apparently she's
that
entirely
bitch.
possible that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to take over the Indiana Jones franchise. Okay, here's the thing. Let's just go run down this story very, very quickly here, because there's a couple of things that I want to say about this story. She gave an interview not too long ago, basically saying that it's entirely possible, but we're not talking about it yet. So, of course, the Indiana Jones movie comes out later this week. She said that she informed the outlet Variety that it's entirely possible that Phoebe Waller-Bridge could be the next Indiana Jones and carry the franchise on, but we're not having those conversations right now. We're focused on finishing with Harrison Ford. So, look, this has been rumored for quite some time now that they were going to move in this direction, yet people behind the scenes, the director specifically keeps telling you, no, that's not true. No, it's not true. What's his name? James Mangold, who's the director of this movie, has been spurting out on social media for quite some time, saying that anyone who says that we're replacing Indiana Jones is a liar. They're a trolling a-hole. I think Doomcock did a video about this maybe like a few months ago, and apparently these people really hate Doomcock in the Hollywood industry, which is kind of hilarious to me. But he was saying that, yeah, look, this has been their plan. This is why the test screenings of this movie was so bad, because they put this woman, because she's a woman, in the role where they're handing her the mantle of Indiana Jones, but nobody likes her. She doesn't have the screen presence to carry this franchise, and we know that this is the plan. Kathleen Kennedy has said many times before, hey, the Force is female. This is what we're planning on doing. We're going to make everything you watch here on Lucasfilm part of a female-led franchise. This goes back to even last year when we were talking about this, saying that, no, we're not doing that. He's denied it multiple times, but now Kathleen Kennedy has given the little caveat that, hey, it's possible, which is her code word of saying that, hey, look, if this film actually does turn a decent profit, then we'll put her in here. But if it flops, then we'll just pretend like this thing never happened. Maybe wait a few years before we announce a next Indiana Jones film. We all know this is what they want to do. We all know this is what she wants to do. They can't just come out and say it, because they know that if they come out and say that, yeah, this girl is going to be the new Indiana Jones, there's going to be a very swift negative reaction behind it. And they still want money, apparently, because Disney, in case you didn't listen to the first half of the show, is losing a lot of money right now. They're losing quite a bit, almost $1 billion so far. Then this movie hasn't come out yet. The Marvels hasn't come out yet. So they're not in a good way. So they're trying to make sure that nobody is scared away from watching this movie, which isn't tracking very well to begin with. But it's like, look, everyone knows this is what you want to do. Just come out and say it. Stop being a bitch. Stop being just stop. Like, if you want to make a female-led Indiana Jones movie, then just do it. Just tell people that's what you're going to do. Stop trying to be secretive about it and trying to mislead people into thinking that you're not doing exactly what everyone knows you're trying to do. Orange Hat, this is your girl, Kathleen Kennedy. Go ahead and start off. What do you think about Indiana Jones and Phoebe being the new Indy?
Well, here's the thing. The only reason why she would have or just come out and start saying it's entirely possible now is because she got slighted on stage. Mm-hmm. I mean, the way that Steven Spielberg embarrassed her in front of millions of people, you know that she's going to be like, well, now that Harrison's out and too old for this shit, I'm thinking they're actually going to hope that Harrison dies in the next few years, because he is getting up there. And then they're going to be like, okay, we're launching now. Because that's what they've been doing. Look at how many franchises they have waited for creators and whatnot to die off, and then they just absolutely fuck it up. So, because here's the thing. Harrison Ford also said, there is no other Indiana Jones. I am Indiana Jones. Now, yes, you can go with the Sean Patrick Flannery Young Indiana Jones, which I actually am going to start looking at later on. But it's like, he is definitively Indiana Jones. Honestly, it sucks that he had to do 5 movies, because the third one, Last Crusade, is honestly the best one. And the first one is pointless, and the second one sucked. But with her saying this and saying that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be the new Indiana Jones, it's like, first off, you can't make an Indiana Jones without Indiana Jones in it. Secondly, it's not going to be called Indiana Jones. It's going to be called whatever this woman's character's name is called. I don't know, nor do I care. But Kathleen Kennedy always wants to push this stuff, mainly because she feels slighted. Woman, you've been a producer in all of this shit for the last fucking 40 years, and you're still whining. It just goes to show that they really probably shouldn't have given you a producer credit. They should have just fired your fucking ass, because honestly, most of what you're doing now is losing so much money that you're more of a liability than an asset. So yeah, make that Phoebe whatever her name is, make that movie. Go ahead.
That's what we just call her.
Yeah, make that movie. Go ahead, lose more money, and maybe, just maybe, Doomcock might actually get right when he says Kathleen's about to get fired.
Broken clock can be right twice a day. I mean, I was just thinking, remember when we all worried that Shia LaBeouf was going to take over in Indiana Jones? You know, good times back in the day.
Let me ask you just a quick question real quick. Would you rather have Shia LaBeouf now be the new Indiana Jones, or would you rather have Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
Now I would actually have Shia LaBeouf, because now it seems like he's actually getting more on the right track.
Plus Shia can actually act, so.
This is very presumptuous of Kennedy to say something like this, because first, she's assuming that the audiences will love Phoebe Waller-Bridge and her character, which is a big if. We've got to see the movie before we can actually decide if she's going to, be up there with a character that has been beloved since the 80s. So it's good 40 some odd years. And secondly, what makes her think that people would want to watch more movies with her and her character? Phoebe Waller-Bridge is not a well-known name. She's done Fleabag, and that's it. That's what most people know. And I've never seen Fleabag. I just know of it.
Yeah.
So why does she think that people are going to say, "Oh yes, we love this character," who, unfortunately, from some of the reports that we've seen, is like a know-it-all Mary Sue type who is going to lecture this senile old man and be the driving force. So why does she think this? This is insane. She's leaving it open because she again thinks that maybe it'll make a lot of money and it'll probably open at number one. Although I don't know, your generation Citizen Kane might come back and take the top spot again. So I think she's just kind of hedging her bets. But it's a silly thing to say, and nobody believes that that this character is going to be the new Indiana Jones or the next Indiana Jones. There's only one Indiana Jones, and Mutt was, maybe that's why they killed him off in Vietnam in the story, because we can't have the possibility of another male taking over Indiana Jones's place, so we're gonna give it to this person who may be so unlikable that the fans won't want her around, let alone want more. And just one last thing, I like the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles. Those were actually good, although they were better with the teen Indiana Jones than with the kid. Just saying.
So I have this
real quick.
Oh,
I'll let Rob go, but just real quick, DL. Yeah, I have heard that she is the worst part of the film, which is a bad sign when you're trying to hand her the franchise. People are saying she's the worst part of the movie. But go ahead, Rob.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I have this right. The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was played by the same guy who played Powder.
Yes.
Sean Patrick Flannery. Okay, I just want to nail that down.
And he was also in Nefarious. He was also the I believe he.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he was also in the Boondock Saints. If anyone's familiar, which is a terrible movie, and yet I watched it a lot in my teenage years.
It has a kind of
enjoyed
a
it.
following.
It's a terrible movie. I'm sorry,
Rob. I will find you. If you keep saying
he's
that
in Pennsylvania. He's in Pennsylvania.
No.
And technically,
how dare you insult the Boondock Saints?
He's closer
Raiders
to you
of the
now.
Lost Ark. Okay, listen. Raiders of the Lost Ark is the best Indiana Jones movie, just like Star Wars is the best Star Wars movie. But anyway, it's fine. Look, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Listen. This is hard for me to admit. I actually like her. I actually like Fleabag quite a bit. I think she's charming. This is not it. This is not the role for her. This is not what she should be taking over. I mean, if Hollywood offers this to you, I guess it's hard to say no to. I guess it's hard to have the wherewithal to be like, yeah, no, I don't want a franchise. I don't want guaranteed salary. But this is wrong. She's the wrong person for it. And as both people have said before me, she's not Indiana Jones. So I don't know what they would be doing. A spinoff series. It should have died with The Last Crusade. I agree with Orange Hat. The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not good. It didn't need to be made. And this movie, I'm sure, doesn't need to be made. I heard that there's a 15-minute de-aging scene with Harrison Ford that apparently is pretty good. But I am dreading watching this movie. Kathleen Kennedy, I'm sorry. Look, she has survived this long. I'm sure she'll continue to survive until she retires. But everybody that's
in honorary Oscar.
Yeah, everybody that's involved with this movie should be ashamed. Steven Spielberg should be ashamed. James Mangold should be ashamed. And Kathleen Kennedy should be ashamed. Harrison Ford, you should be ashamed. I guess he just wants to continue working. He signed up to be in the Marvel universe now too. So whatever. He just wants to work, I guess. But everybody involved in this should be ashamed for what this franchise used to represent, which was craftsmanship in terms of entertainment, craftsmanship at the highest level.
No, I'm not gonna throw John Williams to be ashamed because he's like 91. So let's leave him alone.
Cider, do you like Indiana Jones or Kathleen Kennedy or anything to Lucasfilm?
No. Sorry. I missed the bus on Star Wars, on Indiana Jones, on whoever the hell Phoebe Waller-Bushwhacker is. So the situation with them is that it's just disgusting. I fell out of love with Star Wars when I fell asleep when Anakin was talking to Padme on the balcony with the sunset. I fell asleep. I woke up when somebody died. I don't even remember who died, but I woke up and they were dead. And I was like, it's over. I don't care anymore. I'm done. Neat little glow sticks. Cool. Hate me if you want to, but I'm just over it. I'm done with these are not the ratings you're looking for. I'm done with it.
I'm surprised. Well, I'm surprised that you managed to tolerate Jar Jar Binks in the Phantom Menace. All right.
I barely remember that. I think I was just like my little kid brain when that came out was like, I'm Anakin. I can do the pod race. And I think that was because that's the only thing I remember about that movie is the pod race. That's it.
The homage to Ben-Hur, right?
Yeah. See, this has been the prevailing mistake with these Lucasfilm things is they want to pull from the past so hard and then ram a new agenda into it. And you can't do that. It is the 21st century. Sorry, here we go. Hi, guys. It's current year. Let's pretend that we have new ideas and give it a whirl. I'm speaking the language, right? That's what has to happen is we have to stop abandoning the present, what's happening right now. Like, think of all the stupid old music they put in this stuff now. All the trailers have like some bygone era top 10 dried out threadbare thing you've heard since you were teething. So it needs new. If you want to do Indiana Jones, bring it all the way to the future right now to where he's exploring Göbekli Tepe. He's exploring the ruins and he pushes a button and it's the pyramids of UFO. Do something that's relevant to today. I don't care about what happened with the Nazis. I don't give a damn. Yeah, I'm over it.
I don't think that's necessarily. I mean, I will just push back a little bit on that just because every single actual good director left in Hollywood has not made a modern movie. They're in the past. Scorsese, Tarantino, etc. And I'm sorry, if I was making a movie, if someone gave me $100 million to make, it would be in the past. It would be in a different era because I fucking hate the present. I fucking hate it so much. Cell phones are an entirely uncinematic device. I'm sorry. And so I agree with you in spirit. Update the material to today to make it relevant. but setting it in actual modern day. I'm sorry. Good luck to you.
I don't know. You don't see Indy with the iPhone trying to switch out the one-handed, switch out the thing, holding the iPhone, getting a picture for Instagram.
Please hurl me.
Wouldn't
he be over
100 with the Rock?
Yeah, he'd be over 100. He'd be like, what the hell is this thing?
New
Give me
Indiana
my
You
Jones.
don't see Indy standing over the dead Nazi screaming "World Star."
Yeah, right. Exactly. That's what I'm picturing. Like Indy's, he's running away from the Rock. He's like, "Hey guys, get my cardio in." You know,
Well, he pulled out his
you
whip.
could do
Did he
it.
jump
You
onto
could
the
do
rocket?
that. Like he's
Like-
making archaeology cool again on Instagram, and he's trying to get like, I know I got to fight the Nazis. I just want to let you know I'm fighting the Nazis. They're real still.
Indiana Jones
We
is
had
in a
Nazis
cave
in
doing like an
Georgia this
organized
week, so.
TikTok dance.
Right. You know? Maybe that's what the
George-
Nazis are doing, is they're taking over cell phone towers and hiding them in archaeological sites in order to disguise them from the government. And they're taking over people's minds, one cell phone TikTok video at a time. You know,
Spielberg
whatever.
definitely should have had freaking Harrison Ford in Jurassic Park as Indiana Jones.
Okay. Well, okay. My son is proud. I'm very proud of my son. Okay, but my son wants to write a story where Top Gun goes and fights the Jurassic Park dinosaurs. And I'm like, see, that would be at least something interesting.
Put lasers on their heads. Then you got to fight.
Freaking laser beams
Just
attached
have
to
him,
their
just have
head.
him watch 65, and I'm sure he'll get something.
Yeah,
like
they already have Sharknado movies, so I think
I know he's a young child still.
It's good.
But
How
I'm
old is
very
he?
proud of how creative he is.
Yeah.
At least he's not like, what if Top Gun was a woman?
But what I have to say is
We
just a
already had
guy that's
Captain Marvel,
removed.
so.
I'm just a guy that's
Yeah.
removed from the Lucasfilm experience. I was born in 1989, so a lot of my childhood is not shaped by this stuff. I
Me
did not
too.
come up with that. So, well, on my end
Dude,
of
there's
it,
a
I
lot of
got
people
more
who
of
was
like
born
the,
after you who love this stuff. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Exactly.
It depends on where your passion lies. But I will
Yeah.
say this: that the Phoebe Waller-Bridge thing, she would love to give this franchise to her, but ultimately they're not trying to remake the franchise. They're trying to remake the audience. All right, that's what's
Yep.
been going on for this whole thing. Everybody up here who might have a passion for this stuff, we're considered dinosaurs. I don't care how young or how old you are. If you love it for what it is, you're obsolete. What they want is a new audience, an audience that's going to accept this crap. And a lot of these kids are buying into it because they don't have a tie to this. You know what I mean? So, okay, they don't love Indiana Jones. They don't love Star Wars. But your new interpretation of it, they just might love that. This watered down thing where they are promoting strong, unrealistically strong women and pitifully weak men, because in the future that's what's going to get this country to fall. The fact that we are not together as a family, we're not together as men and women the way we should be. All right, so you have a nation full of weak-minded men who actually believe that it's toxic to be a man and everything that comes with being a man. You know, we're allowing these things to be like pushed down, you know, and devalued. And that's the audience that they want. So it doesn't matter whether something is going to be successful at the box office. Sooner or later, these kids, the same kids that I was just talking about, who's all screwed up, are going to grow up and they're going to be all mixed up gender-wise and all this stuff. And they're going to accept this. They'll wait, you know, for as long as it takes. That's the way the force of evil is. The force of evil isn't like us. It doesn't have a single lifetime. It can wait for generations, you know? So by the time these kids get to be older and stuff, and, you know, men are dressing like women and, you know, women are dressing like men, but they're not men and everything, mission accomplished. So that's what they want, man. They want a mixed up audience. They want a fucked up in the head audience, you know? So those of us who know better, they'll wait us out. We'll die sooner or later. You know what I mean? But what they want is what comes after us. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter.
She even confirmed that when she said this Star Wars is not going to be the same is not going to be for the 40 to 50 year olds. It's like, and that's why it ain't Star Wars.
Yeah, and I just want to say real quick though, JEC, the kids today don't love it. They're reading Japanese junk. All right, but they're looking for what's here Like today, like you know what I mean? Like the Japanese, the kids who prefer that are dinosaurs also. That's the reason why I said it doesn't matter how old or how young you are. They're looking for a certain mindset. You know, if you're one of those kids that love manga and you know you read stuff like that, that's not who she's gunning for, man. It's like they want the ones that are impressionable, the ones that are unsure about their gender and all of that stuff. That's what I mean. You know, there's always going to be those geeks and nerds and stuff. That's where we are. You know, but they don't want us. They want the masses, the general audience. You know, not that little pocket of people who read the Japanese stuff. You know, that's nah.
Yep. Young people don't know anything, especially that they're young. Okay. So just, you know, they're looking for impressionable people they can brainwash with their fucking ideology horse shit, which is why, by the way, I started here 10 years ago with the whole representation debate in Hollywood is bullshit. And guess what? It was right. It was absolutely right the whole time, because if your ideas are good, guess what? Audiences will buy them. It doesn't matter what skin color your main character is.
That's right.
You know,
always been that way.
I've noticed that if they decide to make Phoebe Waller-Bridge the new Indiana Jones or an Indiana Jones type, it just keeps to the idea that we have to replace all the traditional males to females. We're seeing this in the upcoming phase 89 of the MCU, where it's all going to be the female Iron Man, the female Thor, the female Loki. I mean, all these others.
Feminine, yes.
Yes.
Or women are going to take over society.
Yes. We've had the female Doctor on Doctor Who. Now we have the female Indiana Jones. It's just this curious idea that they are just determined not to create original characters that I'm sure men would actually go with if the characters were well written and could appeal to them. But they will just take a property and just transition it to female. So this is just a part of the pattern, because the future is female, and I don't know. I think they're not giving their audience enough credit, because what makes
Rick,
them think? Well, no, I was gonna say, what makes them think that a man would not go see a female-led series? Not every man here on this in this panel here, I'm sure, thinks highly of Ellen Ripley. We think she is wonderful. We don't think that, oh, she's, you know, a woman, so we won't watch it. People here, they love Sarah Connor. She's also a great character, and she's a female, and that has nothing to do with our love for her gender, because she shows strength and vulnerability. We love her for that. Same.
Can I make a point right there?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just want to point out this Ellen Ripley thing. Ellen Ripley had to be taught how to use a gun by what was it, Hicks or whatever it was. You know what I mean? And it's like, and she let him do that. This is what I'm saying. And when she did take over, when she went like crazy, it was because she lost that child that was like a daughter to her at that point. So I'm just saying, I agree with everything that you're saying for sure, but I just want people to understand too, the reasons why she was such a powerful character is because we saw what motivated her. We saw what guided her to be what she was, so it wasn't like she was even just given to us, like, here's your badass character. We saw the way she was pulled into it. She didn't even she just was hanging in the back until everything started breaking loose. When people started getting slaughtered, she was like, we have to do something. She wasn't there to take the lead. So this is what I'm saying. This is the reason. And the same thing with Sarah Connor. Basically, the conflict came to her literally. And that's the difference. These female characters that we're giving today, we're just saying, here they are. They're strong. They don't even have to train. There's no motivation for them.
They're perfect. And the same thing. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
No, what a beautiful metaphor for motherhood. Like,
Yes.
seriously. And it's such a badass way, and just like putting your neck out there, and it's like, hey, you're in it. Congratulations. You're a hero. You're in it, and you don't have any other choice.
Yes,
So
it was go ahead. I mean, it was to protect Newt for Ellen Ripley, was protect John Connor. So it was a motivation. And also, I forgot to mention Star Wars. We've gone from Luke to Rey, and Rey as a character is perfect. Again, when Emo Vader was screaming, "I can train you," I was like, why? She's doing a better job than you are.
Yeah.
That's right.
So sorry, Rob. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. And then I was just going to say with what you were saying, it's like, yeah, they're making all of these female characters into male, or they're replacing the male characters with the female characters. They care so much about women, they're not even giving them their own characters to create, like was done with Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor. They're not even being given the opportunity to grow and prosper on their own, because they have the specter of the male Iron Man and the male, Incredible Hulk and all these other characters.
We can even go
actually,
back
it's
further.
really sexist of them the way that they do this, is because women, that's like the archetype of the gold digger woman. It's like she just want to take your stuff and make it her own.
You could go back even further to one of the best television female characters, Mrs. Peel, on the Avengers. She was strong, and there are many men who love her and think that she's great because she was able to show strength and intelligence. And we don't think, it's a woman, we're not going to gravitate to her. I'm sure she's probably more popular than Steed from the Avengers. She became an icon, Diana Rigg, because of that. So I don't know why they keep thinking you can't have strong female characters. You've had them for such a long time. Don't take male characters and just say, we're going to switch the gender, as they're trying to do with Indiana Jones, and say we're going to have the exact same result. No, we're not, because it's a different character altogether. And real quick,
men and women are different.
Cassie, I'm glad you enjoyed Miss Ross. So I'm going to tell you.
I wonder if Cassie ran into Forrest Whitaker while he was there, or while she was there.
He was probably upside down.
Phenomenon reference for any of those who don't know.
Okay.
Well, it could just be more witchcraft, so I wasn't sure.
Oh man,
you're muted. You're muted, Jacob.
But yeah, look, no, we're gonna be watching this film later this week. It's 2.5 hours. I just want to get it over with. So, I mean, yeah, the force is gonna be female, whether we like it or not. So let's just go ahead and get this over with, so I can pretend like this whole thing died back in the 1970s, like it did in the first place. So that's pretty much how I feel about it. But yeah, I think we've reached the end of our show here. We reached the 2.5 hour mark, so we might as well go ahead and wrap this one up. So I just want to say thank you guys for joining us for another show, but I will give you guys the floor here. I'll start off with Mark, who was kind of our last second unannounced replacement for Cold Classic Cage here. So I'll let you tell everyone what you got coming up and where they can find you if they want to hear more of your stuff.
Yeah, the channel is Mark with a C, the Gospel According to, but it's Mark with a C. And first of all, thank you guys for having me on. This is really, really cool. And I love the opportunity to be able to chop it up about things that are real, as well as the things that entertain us too. On my channel, that's what I do. I talk about real stuff. I talk about pop culture and how it all comes together, because I've been saying for years, and I've been doing this for years now, that it's bigger than Star Wars. It's bigger than all of these things. It's all part of what we're in, this matrix or whatever. It all means something. So I have my little comedic way of putting it out there. I get silly, I sing, I dance, I hang glide, I don't know, whatever, but I try to make it entertaining. But come on through and check me out if you will. Thanks again for having me, guys.
It was nice seeing you and hearing you.
Indeed it was, man.
Yes, definitely.
All right, Orange Hat, what you got coming up, man?
All right, well, I'm Orange Hat Reviews. You can find me on my channel. I do mystery reviews on Tuesday afternoons. The next one, or I just did Count of Monte Cristo today. And the next one is, the hint for next week is, it's very obvious, folks. And that is your hint. It's obvious. So I also do Infinity Saga Sundays with CS and the rest of the Hat Crew, where we cover the Infinity Saga from the MCU. We're on Ant-Man coming up this Tuesday. And coming in July, me and Jade Shadow, Mara Jade, are going to be doing Thursday singles, where I go on to her channel for ones and twos, which is going to be Jaws for July, because July 4th and Jaws mix. We created a new one that's going to be doing singles for my channel. I also cover latest news that's going on in the Hollywood world. Unfortunately, Julian Sands passed, or was found, his remains. So rest in peace to Julian Sands. I also did a Star Wars video, which haven't done one of those in a while, but had no choice. There was some real big ignorance in that category that I just had no choice but to report on. But yeah, you could also find me on Twitter at Orange Hat Patriot, and also my backup Orange Hat 2185. And you can also find me on all sorts of the other alternative platforms. I have Rumble, I have Odyssey, I have all that stuff. So yeah, and also here every Tuesday night. So
all right, Cider Hype, what you got coming up, my buddy?
You can find me on just about every platform as Cider Hype. I'm over on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter under that name, and also over on the Dank stream on John Della Rosa's channel whenever he feels like streaming. This summer's been a bit of a bitch for everybody, so look for us when we go live. And I also show up on the Bounding in the Comics channel 2 or 3 times a week. I don't know, sometimes. Check me out over there. We're also doing the Bounding News Breaks with John Trent tries to race through the news as fast as he can. It's kind of a new thing, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of fun. But it is though. But like he's like doing a short video format now, and he's like, I have a whole article, and I'm gonna get through the whole damn thing in 3 minutes.
Yeah,
I love posting the videos, right? Because like I time him. I'm sitting here like, all right, we're getting close, man. Are you gonna push that button soon? Are we gonna do it?
Yeah, especially if it's like one of Spencer's article where he has to like go through like 10 minutes of filler just to get to the actual point.
I'm kidding, of course. I'm telling a joke. But yeah, check out Bounding into Comics. We're doing the news breaks right now, so that way you guys don't have to sit through a lengthy video about what's going on in the news. You can sit through John Trent breaking it down into nice little bites while you have your lunch.
All right, man. Ricardo, what you got coming up?
Yeah, just more reviews and my weekly haiku. And I want to shout out to Cassie. Thanks to her, I've got Upside Down playing in my head, and it's been playing for like the whole day. So, props to Miss Ross. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just more reviews and my weekly haiku. That's it.
All right, then. East Coast Rob Motto, how you doing today?
Good. I've watched 68 movies this month. Watched Sean Connery interrogate and beat the shit out of a child predator today, so that was fun. A movie called The Offense. And yeah, I'm just gonna be watching movies and getting my shit together over here. So yeah, check out my name at the bottom there.
That just changed suddenly. I don't know how that happened. Johnson, what you got coming up?
I have I'm relaunching Discord, my superhero comic set in Atlanta, and it's on Fund My Comic this time. I've been enjoying getting to know Luke and some of the other people that run the site past couple of months. So I'm happy they're there, and I'm writing issue number 2. So go give me your money there. It doesn't start till August, so you have time to save up. And I also have plenty of my books and other things on Amazon and around the internet. So I'm the mom here. If you're new, I'm the mom and the old lady who's still relatively young. And I write usually absurdist, silly, weird things. So you've spent money on stupider things. So might as well buy me coffee.
The greatest saleswoman on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen.
I can sell everything but myself, man. So
apparently. So let you know what we got coming up here. Friday night, we are going to be doing Rolling Thunder. We were supposed to do that last week, but I had some things going on, so we have to move that till this week. So it will be on Twitch, Rumble, and on Kick. We'll be watching that movie for movie night on Friday night, so join us there. Monday, we're going to be back doing another movie review show. We're going to be reviewing the Indiana Jones movie, and then there's a little South Korean film called The Child, which we're also going to review, or at least I'm going to watch. Hopefully, Rick and Rob have the ability to watch it too. Still trying to figure out how that's going to go. So that's Monday night. And then next Tuesday night, we'll be back here once again for the Barroom Podcast, episode 55. These ones are just rolling around now. So we're already past our 50 mark, our year mark, and then we're coming up on number 60 here. And by the way, I didn't really mention this because I even forgot myself, but apparently this week was the 7-year anniversary of the 8 year. Yeah, it's been 8 years since I've been doing the Site Society review. So no, wait, No, it's
7.
7. It's 7. Yeah.
What year did you
I'm
start?
stupid. I can't count.
2016. It's on the sign.
Yeah,
Yeah,
2016. There you go.
I
7
was
years.
like, wait, yeah. So it's been 7 years since we started the site. So yeah, it's been a while. Just a kid who wanted to just watch movies and review things, and somehow it spilled all the way into this. So watch out for that. By the way, I'm back to writing for Zinger again too. So there's gonna be a lot of content coming out with them over the next couple of days. So go follow Zinger News for some of my content over there. But until then, I'm gonna go ahead and try to Rolodex all the names who are with us here tonight on the chat. Duke Nukem, JEC, Rocky the Black Dragon, Neozoic, Alex versus Evil, Tactus Jones. Who else we have? We have Vanya, who was here with us tonight. I had a bunch of people. Make sure Spencer was here. Cassie, obviously, joining us. Rich the Swag Lord joining us on the show tonight. We had Andy Masterson, who was here. Tina Guzman, who was here. Get shout out to make sure I grab everyone here to make sure I didn't miss anyone. Shifter, who was joining us throughout the course of the show. Mephisto's movie reviews. Stopping by once again. Doba Fett, Twitless, and I think that's just about everyone, and then including the couple of weird people who joined us on Kick tonight too. Thank you guys for joining us for another week. Hopefully, we'll see you guys Friday night for the movie night, or Monday night for our next movie review, or if not, we'll see you guys back here next Tuesday night for the Barroom Podcast. So for everyone on the show tonight, Orange Hat Cider, Mark, Johnson, Rob, Rick, everyone wave to the crowd. We're getting out of here. Adios. Goodbye.